We're back though. Hardpoints. It's been a little while. I know we really didn't do a follow-up episode after champs and everything like that for the Modern Warfare season, but our plans for this one is to do these episodes live going into the Cold War season. So we're planning on getting at least a couple of episodes in every single month. We're going to be very consistent with it once again because we're back in full swing, and super excited about it. Boys, this is the BTB. We got Merk, we got Maven, we got Crowder, some of my best friends. We've been doing this show for a long time, for several titles about CDL. We talk about Warzone. We talk about basically everything Call of Duty. So thank you guys so much for hopping in. We're just gonna BS for a couple minutes. I know we're late. I'll let everyone from Twitter and socials hop in here, but yeah, super excited to be back for the show. Boys, how are we feeling about Cold War so far? Just very general thoughts about the game.
I am very excited for competitive. I lasted about 2 days on pubs because after day one, I thought I was going to die because I felt like I played in a challengers tournament the entire time and I was exhausted. It's sweaty out there with skill based, but no, I think for competitive, I'm excited. I mean, for a ton of reasons we can chat about, but it should be a very good year compared to the last several. So,
gotta be right.
No, that's fair. I think so far from coaching this game and being able to like watch the spawn system and watch how the games play out, and I think for what's coming, because I know Raid got announced and a bunch of other things too, like, and the amount of updates that we've already seen to the competitive play has been incredible. So yeah, I am super satisfied so far with this game, and I think this game has an insane amount of potential for like the competitive scene in the CDL. And I think with how much they're showing that they care already, I think we're in a really good spot.
Well, I talked real quick. I talked to a player, which I won't name, and I won't say anything I shouldn't say, but just they kind of broke down to me the relationship right now, just back and forth with the dev. It's good. Like compared just amazing. The lines of communication and what they're trying to work on, the understanding in the back and forth compared to like what we had last year is wildly different. So
just the way the devs tweet about it. Like you just tell the difference right away of like what they're focusing on, right? It's a crazy difference. Joe, you don't seem sold. What you thinking?
I am. I was about to talk and then Clint cut me off. And
classic.
I want to
God, you're annoying. Baldy, calm down. Let Joe talk for once.
I want to follow up on Chris's point. Maybe even talked about the dev, but I actually talked to the player about it.
God.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's why I let him speak. Yeah, I mean, listen, Treyarch is number one in my heart. I mean, you guys are sort of talking about that. I was just in Clay's chat, and you know who sub Maddox. Like they're watching scrims actively. Like they just care. It's truly what it is. We've built relationships with Treyarch for a good amount of years now. I think even Black Ops 4, there was this direct line of communication. I think it's getting better and better. It gets better every year. The problem just consists now. The problem from a Call of Duty League side is just I mean, you go from Black Ops 4 to Modern Warfare, right? Like we went a couple of steps backwards. We lost control. We had squad spawns. I mean, it was a mess. It's just plain simple. It was a mess. There was no really updates. It didn't feel like the communication was there. So it's like I look forward to these years so much, but then next year scares the living heck out of me. Like already thinking about it, what these players are doing, the patches that are coming out, the updates to control in Hardpoint and this and that. So it's like I'm super excited for this year. I love Treyarch. I know they are passionate about what we're passionate about, and I think that just makes it so much easier. It's just, we can't go from having another year of control to I don't know what next year is. I have no idea. Like, we just can't keep doing this. So from a league side, like hopefully that gets better. I mean, it just has to. That there has to be that parity. Or we could just stay with Treyarch forever, and I'm cool with that. But
same,
whatever. I am already excited. Based on what I've watched, 4v4 is back. It's a great start to the year.
What I'm curious about too, the parity between the devs, and we see them making those transitions with the other Call of Duty IPs, right? Call of Duty Mobile seems like Warzone sort of headed in that same direction, right? Why can't that happen for the main title as well? or just maybe like a competitive title. I wonder if that's something that they've talked about, if something that might be potentially in the cards, because that's how you create some sort of consistency, right? And that's how you create or make the CDL. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Just more consistent, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. What we need, and I talk about this on stream a lot, like everybody knows at this point that Call of Duty is a casual game. Like nobody is saying it isn't. We get it. We try to build around that, but like there has to be some help. Like we just need a couple of boxes checked to make sure year on year we don't have another year of domination or another year of squad spawns. Like I mean, heck, if they even want to go another step and say, you know what, we're going to make our maps, but we'll give you guys 5 competitive maps that we'll take from Call of Duty to Call of Duty. So whatever that is, that has to be there. So then they can go their direction with whatever they want to do otherwise. But the consistent things that we should look forward to, players should look forward to, fans should look forward to, should all be there year after year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great topic. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about that too. Welcome, everybody. Live episode of Hardpoints. I'm seeing hundreds and hundreds of more people rolling in. These episodes of Hardpoints are now going to be live, and then we're going to transition them over to the usual platforms once we're done with the episodes. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. Drop a follow on the channel if you guys are new. This is a Call of Duty talk show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, with the BTB. Twitch.tv/Merk, Twitch.tv/Maven, Twitch.tv/Crowder. We play a lot of Call of Duty. We've been professionals besides Maven. He stinks, but he's a professional commentator for a long, long time. Very knowledgeable on the esport. Sometimes Joe's the hard carry on the analytics side, though. Let's be honest. Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The analytics side, yeah.
Yeah, but Clint's the GOAT caster, 100%.
Oh, that's the nicest thing you've ever said. Thank you.
Yeah, the only time you ever hear that.
No, we used to have beef and blackout because you were stupid, but you're growing on me. You idiot.
No,
he's
missed
my
this morning,
teammate,
man.
you know, so.
Yeah.
You missed this morning, TeeP. He was
Rare breed?
interesting this morning.
He wasn't too bad when I joined up.
Until I came into the lobby, you know, I had to straighten him up.
Yeah, we needed Joe to put him back in place for a little bit.
Dad.
Joe's an alpha. Also, you guys, I see some subs and some things rolling on in. No alerts. This is just going to be us chatting about Call of Duty. Not going to be really looking at chat too much. But the biggest difference compared to our previous episodes is at the end of the episodes, you guys can chime in a lot more, and we have more of a conversation with you guys. So make sure you guys hang out, keep putting stuff in the chat. We'll look at the chat and see if there's anything interesting to talk about from you guys. But at the end will be the time when we interact with you guys a lot more. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. You guys are the best. But let's do a brief recap of Modern Warfare season. Okay. Obviously we had champs online. The whole transition happened. Pandemic. Holy shit. We're going online. What do? Panic. Players are freaking out. People are moving to Texas so they can dominate online. Right. It was crazy. The couple events that we got for Modern Warfare were pretty awesome, in my opinion. Watchability of the game when it transitioned over to online, it was hard for me to pay attention. I know you guys were much more invested than I was, but just like the spectator point of view, some events were harder to watch than others because there was those issues with online. Didn't seem like all the games were really fair. There was a lot of things that were implemented as the events were going on that made online better to play. And I think it got to a much better spot by the time champs rolled around. But from top to bottom, the first season of CDL was an interesting one. I think everyone pivoted well with the transition, obviously. Give me some brief thoughts on what you guys thought from the start, the middle, the end. How do you think things handled from a league side, production side? There's a lot of stuff to go through about this season, but just love to hear some thoughts.
I guess I think, in a way, it was like the worst possible scenario for the inaugural season of the league from so many standpoints. I think a lot of stuff felt kind of rushed and had to be done quickly to get the league started. I think everything that happened with COVID, the fact that we went from having the long-term, production team with the MLG crew and like Adam Apicel and people we've been working with, all of that got swapped out for new people. Like everything was changed massively. There were a lot of curveballs, but I guess overall, personally, I walked away from it feeling it went pretty damn well, considering what a shit show the year was. I mean, I know there were a ton of little production issues, sometimes major production issues. The online stuff was brutal at times. I mean, Joe and I were visibly pissed off at times casting when things would happen with players getting DDoSed or dropping out. But I guess it's like when part of me feels like I guess I wish the first year started better and didn't deal with all that shit. I guess I kind of now feel like it's only gonna get better. like
Right.
dealing with all that shit, and like especially I didn't even mention the fact that like that particular title, right? Like that title and the relationship with improving things was also poor. Like I just felt like everything was against year one. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong, and we still got through it. Still even set some viewership records in spots. So I'm excited for the future, and it went better than I think it probably should have.
I agree with that last part. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, obviously, I'm happy we had a season. That's kind of as basic as it gets. Step number one. It was a major shift, as Clint said, for everybody. I mean, as a player, a former player, I know online. Like, I get it. I get it. We all get it. It is what it is. It sounds like already for this year. I know we may talk about this, but players are relocating, things like that. I mean, I just think about Optic Optic LA, in sort of what they did for champs, and they got to top 3 at champs because why? I mean, well, Slasher, they all went to Dallas. Like, it obviously has an impact.
Top 6, but yeah, top 3.
No,
Yeah, top 6.
Oh, sorry, top 3. I saw Chicago was third. That's why.
But they played well,
dude,
though.
the
whole thing is messing with my head.
I'm definitely gonna fuck her up commentating for
they go to a game 5 round 11. They started in losers round 1. Like, there are obviously people that it affects, and veterans are one of them as players. I mean, I couldn't imagine, like, because I think especially the CWL, all the steps it took to make sure that everything was on land. That was like, even when I got hired at MLG, like, that is what we drove home. As much important things that we could put on land needs to be on land. I mean, that's just what we tried to do. So that was we got a season done. Game side is what it is. I think the players put on a heck of a show considering what we were dealing with, and all the props to them. So yeah.
I mean, I agree with what Maven said. I think that was the best possible scenario we could have made from like such a like the cards that we were dealt was just impossible to deal with. But for me, last year, like, I don't have too much insight on casting, broadcast, and all that because I don't really work there. But like for me, it was more like the teams and like the game. I think it was just something for like the players to deal with. Just such a shitty game, just flat out. Like the game was terrible for the players and like the spawn systems and everything else. Like there was so many times where I can probably ask any player that there was so many like people that would go over VOD and watch VOD and just be like, I have no idea why that guy spawned there. And like things like that. And I think going from that to this year, I think is just step one, the only thing that actually matters for these players and being able to understand what's going on. And I know the game's still super new, but just from the brief time I've been able to coach this game and actually watch the VODs and watch my team scrim other teams, like when players go somewhere, usually right now the player spawns like X, Y, or Z, and it makes actual sense. So I think last year for the CDL with the title that we were playing, I think it could not have went any better considering what they were dealing with. The players, even from like the league standpoints and the org standpoints, like that had to be pretty frustrating working with that as well when like they were just clearly not on the competitive side of Call of Duty at all. And that was just made clear, and that's not their fault at the end of the day too. Like I'm sure there's behind the scenes things that we don't know, but they didn't want to deal with it and they didn't. So the CDL and the players had to make up for it. So I think overall we set some good viewership records. We did some pretty good things with the CDL, and it was probably year one would be a success for me.
I'm so happy I didn't coach. Oh my.
Yeah, you are. Trust me.
Dude. So like a little bit of insight. Like I was fielding some offers, but like after seeing how everything progressed and just how the game played out, like I paid a lot of attention for the first couple of months just to like keep my mind sharp when it comes to the game and everything. But man, watching, bro, I can only imagine the situations that the players, the coaches, all the management, it's like there is only so much that seemed to be in people's control. obviously there were some teams that had more consistent results than others, right? I don't want to completely discredit the talent of these teams, but let's keep it real. Like, man, I can only imagine scrims on a day-to-day basis. How
day to day they probably were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like how
do we replicate that? Oh, we can't. Okay.
Well, yeah, there was definitely a gap between teams for sure, and there was a talent gap, as you guys saw from the placings and stuff. Even my team did pretty well last year, but like, man, there was some bullshit that people had to deal with, and there's just nothing you can do with it. So yeah, that was a comical year.
It's funny. It's funny you say that though, because like with the game the way it was and how it felt more RNG to some degree, and with online and with everything, results wise, outside of a couple outliers.
That's what I mean. There was definitely
nothing
a gap,
really that shocking, but no,
there was just
there'll always be a system. There's always a system.
There was a method to the madness.
It just seems like no matter what the game is, no matter if it's online or LAN, like the better teams are going to get results. Like it's just they'll find a way.
But the better team gets results because most of the time, a lot of the better teams just have better attitudes and know how to practice better. Like so, you learn the system and you learn the method to the madness a lot better than other teams. Like, and that's just what it is. That's usually what defines a good team is the way they practice and their attitudes towards the game. So like that gap is always going to be there, but it's not always by the game too. Like there was a system, but like even if you use Dallas this last year, like they were probably the team that complained the least, and they put a lot of effort into that game, and they were the best team last year by far. Like towards the end of the game, and that was just undebatable the way they played champs. Like their teamwork was on another level. Like there was a lot of times where like even my own team, like it was just hard to stay passionate sometimes about that game when you were playing it. And I wasn't a player, so I couldn't really speak for that. But like even seeing it in them, like it's tough, man, when you're playing a game that you truly just don't like for the competitive
I love
side,
how we have this Baltimore vibe going where we just won't say his name out loud. Like we just keep saying that game, so let's keep that up. I kind of like that, We're just keep that game that mustn't be named. Yeah. Keep that to ourselves.
Chris talking though just made me think of how much Faze would piss Joe and I off when we casted him half the time.
Oh yeah, I mean there were some real dumb things that would happen.
So many,
but I think to what Chris's point is that like I think that's what's like if we want to talk about Dallas and their sort of cap to the end of the year, I mean they just owned it. Whatever mindset or whatever they wrote up on a whiteboard one day in a meeting, and they just basically tattooed it on their souls. Like it just feels like they're like, I don't really care what's gonna happen. Like we're just gonna play and just try.
It was Hastard. He probably wrote like championships, not hoodies, or something on a t-shirt. Dude.
Yeah, it was something like that. I think. Yeah, that's probably it.
And just from watching too, I think as the year went on, it seemed like a lot of the hard points, especially in the online environment, it was pretty consistent, like a 250 to a 220 game. But when it comes to S&D and even Dom, you could tell the teams that had a better idea. Like certain teams, for example, I don't know, like a Florida on a St. Petro Dom stood out. There was definitely standout maps and modes specific for certain teams as the year went on. Some teams definitely got a lot better, and then some teams sort of fell to middle of the pack. I don't know how much the online transition actually went into that. But yeah, the game that shall not be named. I like that. We'll keep that one going for sure. In terms of, so we talked on a title. Players, a lot of people were not a big fan of it as a comp title. Let's just leave it at that. In terms of broadcasting stuff, I guess this is mostly directed towards Merk and Maven. What do you guys broadcast side? Once we got to the end of the year, there was a lot of improvements made in terms of the broadcast side. Do you think, was there anything more that you guys wanted to see, feel like could have been improved? What are you guys' thoughts there?
I'm just going to touch on this quick because I think we did talk about it briefly in one of the episodes, but a big part of the issues, and this was public on a website ages ago, so I don't mind talking about it, but the broadcasting software, whatever the cloud mix they were using to do everything, they were making some really, really cool tech for this stuff, I think for like OWL and CDL, so they could do everything online. Like it was going to be far more advanced than your vMix and stuff like that. The issue is that it was still being made. I don't think it was quite ready, and they still used it, and I think that led to some issues, especially with audio type stuff and other problems that were happening. It just wasn't quite ready. So that's tough to like speak to improving because what do you do, other than maybe we should have switched to something else sooner. As far as like stuff we could have done that'd be cooler on broadcast. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fact that we had online matches, if you compared those back to like, let's say the Black Ops 3 days we had an online league, that was literally just like Jack, Matt, Revan, and I talking on camera for hours and filling time. Like
I
we did
remember
not
watching
have,
that.
yeah,
I
we
do
didn't
too.
have, we didn't have player listen-ins and player cams and a bunch of observers. Like there was a lot. That was probably the best product we've had online. There was just so many little issues that it was hard to kind of look past those. And I don't know. I could talk about that for an hour. Like
Yeah.
there were a bunch of issues, but a lot of it's boiled down to the fact that I think we were using some stuff that wasn't quite ready.
Makes sense. I mean, people had to make those decisions and very huge decisions very quickly, probably in the matter
Way
of
above
weeks.
us. Way
above
above
your
us,
guys'
yeah.
case. I know. I'm just saying, like, you guys are
Yeah.
on the broadcast. You're like obviously super invested and work with these people. So I see if you had any other thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, production worked really hard. They understood the issue. They didn't, some of the stuff that our producers and whatnot, they were just like, well, we kind of have to do this. Like, this is it. So we'll deal with it. We'll try to make some improvements. We'll figure out the system. I think event to event, it got better. Champs was probably its smoothest. The only issue we ran into a Champs was one DDoS game. Like the first day in which everybody kind
That
of
was
panicked
scary.
and freaked out, which I don't complain. And we made an adjustment to where, we ran like a delayed broadcast, which worked out well. After that first day, there was no more. Yeah, I mean, how much more was it? $2.5 million. I don't remember how much. It was a lot. The biggest tournament Call of Duty has ever had. We got that done. And I think just going from, I personally liked the sort of 2 weekends for Champs. I thought it did build up some, there was sort of a discussion around, was it going to hurt the players or whatnot? But I liked the whole championship weekend when we got down to the top 4. I thought it had some epic moments. So I kind of liked how it played out.
Couple of positives that I want to talk about too is people. I feel like the community was kind of freaking out when the transition to YouTube happened for the broadcast, right? But I wanted to, like, viewership was pretty damn good, right? Like, did it surpass your guys' expectations? Because it definitely did for me. Granted, we had some big features finally added for incentives for watching the broadcast. You had your in-game drops for those different. What was everything that they included with the drops? If you guys know off the top of your head.
Yeah,
There's like a calling card, an emblem.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother discussion though. Like that, the fact that they got that going year one gets me really excited. Like I think we all know that's just going to get a lot better because that's something we've been wanting for a really long time, and maybe like crowdfunding someday. Like I expect that to improve. But the YouTube thing, I guess I wasn't really that worried. Because if you don't know, YouTube is massive, and there's a huge Call of Duty audience already there for like VOD stuff. So I wasn't that worried about that. But the I also don't think I was all that worried because how our format was. Like usually when we struggle with viewership, it was for league matches, right? Like that's historically kind of been a problem when there's two not big teams playing a league match. Sometimes people don't give a shit. But the fact that it was all tournaments, I didn't really have that many concerns, I guess, because people like to watch COD tournaments. It's always been that way.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to. Those are big things that we wanted. Basically, any sort of incentives for watching, and then you kind of brought up crowdfunding too. I think just the amount of potential for Call of Duty to amass just an absurd amount of viewership is still just out there, and you could just kind of copy what other esports have done. We've been talking about this for what 10 years now, probably more than 10 years. It's just like, man, imagine.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
We don't even got
scary,
step 1
though.
yet, bro. Can we give them like a CDL playlist, a ranked mode or something?
Yeah, ranked mode. Seriously, man.
Yeah, it is still scary though. We've touched on this before, but like the most titles that have done that, like Dota's the big one, obviously with the international, and it is a little weird for us since it is a different title every year. Like it still does weird me out, and I do have a fear. Like, what if we come from a Treyarch title or something that's massively popular, and then there is a dud or a game that's not huge, and it goes backwards? Like that's always, I don't know, something I'm worried about. But hopefully,
We already had that and we got through it.
Yeah,
I know. But
We've
I
done
mean,
that in crowdfunding.
You never
Right, got it.
You never. It's like once you start that, it's just like always has to go up. Otherwise, it'll just be this massive negative thing hanging over the tournament. I don't like the thought of that, but I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, and maybe that would never happen. And it's not a valid concern, but That's all anyone would talk about. If one year it was lower than the year before.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I
feel
still want cooler stuff to give to the viewers. I still just want
facts,
obviously we had a good step one, but it was beta and they were testing stuff out. But I still think, I mean, heck, even in general, just like rewarding players in game, rewarding players for watching. Like I think we can get into the creative bag a little bit more and pull some stuff out. Like I think
Give me
that
some cool
opportunity,
camos.
that opportunity is obviously
watching.
there. I mean, that discussion's always going to be difficult to have though, because it's like, well, I mean, we could do that, or we could put it in the store. You could use code TeeP with all in all caps, and it's like that's
Nice
a good
plug,
point. That's a good point. So
love that.
That's going to be a battle the league will probably is already having. But yeah, if we can get to that point, that'd be amazing. I mean, it's just how do we introduce more people? I mean, there's so many people playing Call of Duty. Like,
Right.
there's so many. I mean, even us now, like the more we're getting into Warzone, people are like, "What do you do?"
Well,
Like we're introducing people to that. There's so many Call of Duty players out there that have no idea about this league.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, with the Warzone thing that you just brought up, like, that's, like, where I feel like a lot of my morning audience that watches me play in the morning have no idea, like, what I do. Because I always say, like, I have to get off because I can really only stream, like, 5 hours in the morning, maybe 6 if, like, I'm really pushing it. And everyone's like, "Why do you get off so early every morning?" And I tell them, like, "I gotta go coach my team." And they're like, "What? What does that mean?" And I try and explain it to a lot of them. And, like, that'd be even something where, like, the camos, like, for a lot of the people that play Warzone, which is Call of Duty, which is not competitive CDL Hardpoint, but it is Call of Duty. Like, even if it was just to briefly watch that just to get the cool camo that your favorite streamer's using, that could easily convert, like, a couple thousand people. Like, it depends on how many, like, if Nick Merks and other people are doing it too. But, like, all those camos is something that would really drive up the incentive too. And having cooler things like the calling card and the titles and all that are cool. But, like, I feel like you got to make more of a statement for some of those things.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
those are creative. That's
Yeah.
like a baby step. But I think you can do, like, really cool shit with that if you had someone that was, like, dedicated to thinking of creative things for that.
It's crazy to think about. You brought up that point. It's like people don't even really know what we do.
They have no
That's
idea.
so weird.
I was talking about it the other day.
Here's some
stream. They have no idea.
context, chat. I know a lot of you guys are probably regulars of our streams or whatever. For the people that aren't, like, we've been doing this for so damn long. So when we have that reaction, it's like, dude, we've been in this scene for over 10 years now. Maybe not all of us, but like in some way, shape, or form. So like the fact that there's still so many people rolling into like Warzone content, or whatever it may be.
Well, that's the big one, right? It's this past year with free to play in Warzone. I mean, the player number is probably absurd. I mean, that's just what it is.
Absolutely absurd. And just to see where all of our streams are at too, like even looking at our streams going back to Blackout to like where we are now, just us four, like the opportunity, not only for our streams, but Call of Duty streams in general, like it's not going to go down. So like, that's what just, I hope that parity and the relationship between the devs and the players, I hope all that stuff can continue to flourish. It seems like Treyarch's there. It doesn't seem like Infinity Ward is there. If we can get to a better spot, like I feel like we can all just take the fuck off.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. Do you guys ever foresee a world where like, I mean, I don't know if this will ever happen, but like, does the league just like, we're going to keep playing Cold War another year? Like, it just feels weird to continuously make these steps forward. And then like, at what point, like what crosses that line? Like, what is that line?
I think
don't know.
last year crossed that line. Honestly,
I
I think last year after how
Yeah.
I mean I'm still using the MP5 in Warzone today. Like how there was no weapon tuning, there was no spawn changes, there was no anything towards the game at all. I feel like there's no way. I have no inside info on this. This is me talking completely just like guessing. But that had to cause frustration from the CDL. That had to be annoying to have people and fans constantly complain about spawn systems. And even when you guys are casting and other things, like seeing that like a fan can notice that when someone spawns behind them for no reason and it made no sense, like that stuff is super confusing for new viewers, which is a big thing too. Like I think last year had to have crossed or at least stepped on the line. Maybe not crossed, but stepped on the line and made them think about it. Because if you have another year, because don't get me wrong, Modern Warfare, I said the game's name, was a very successful Call of Duty, just not for competitive Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And I explain that to my chat all the time. I didn't like Modern Warfare for competitive Call of Duty. For casual play and other stuff, totally different. So like it was very successful in its own right, but with the CDL and how much money's invested in it, I feel like you have to think of that too, and it wasn't thought of. So they definitely stepped on that line. And if they have another successful Call of Duty, but they don't want to do anything for the CDL, like I feel like you have to think of that like one way or another. I don't know.
I just don't think it could ever happen, and I think it would be dumb as shit if we were to
I
do
agree,
that.
but
Like a
it's
couple
tough.
things. One, we need to play the game where the audience is. Like if there's 50 million people playing the new COD and 2 million playing the old COD, like we can't be playing the old. And the other thing,
I think though, to that point, like, I mean, we're kind of back to that old school rivalry of IW versus Treyarch. I bet you both games are healthy. I mean, I know what you're saying. I'm just saying I think we're at that point now where we're back to the split for sure.
That's also the small piece of this for me. The other piece is that would literally be a fuck you from the CDL to whatever dev it was.
Yeah,
like if they decided, like remember they all work for the same. It's all under Activision Blizzard. If they were to say we're not playing the next title and play the old one, that literally is just a.
But not really though, because if Modern Warfare doesn't want to deal with competitive, and they say that, like you could have easily just said last year we don't give a shit about competitive. That's what
they
it was.
Agree with it. They're like, hey, you know, we don't want to work with it, but like,
yeah.
I mean, I just don't see it happening. Like, a part of me has always wanted. We've discussed this too. Is like, eventually maybe Treyarch makes a title that is just competitive. It's year to year, gets updates, like a CS type thing.
That's what I want. They're already doing it.
Like I would love that. I mean, it's basically what Warzone's going to become in a way.
COD Mobile,
but, and COD Mobile, yeah. But I'd love that. I just haven't thought enough about what negatives there are to that too, and I'm sure there's, you know, just splitting the player base and other things you got to think about. But for us, would it make stuff a lot easier?
I don't know a lot about the business and money side of it, but microtransactions and the season pass content is doing quite well. You can see how much money they are making, right?
$3 billion last year?
It's not bad. The quarterly revenue is going well for them, right? So like they're already like they have this strategy. It's like, but they're adding like the $60 game sales on top of it for a new title every year too. So it's like, I get that, like that's probably a lot of money if they just decide to transition to just one title and do regular updates there. But it's just like so much work for the individual devs, right? They have to come out with the new game, the new title. They have to update Warzone. They have to do all this content, create a bunch of new stuff for these different season plans that that are probably laid out for them. It's like you need to hit this amount of content by this date every single time. And then what happens? Your game is absolutely broken and there's not enough manpower to fix everything. And it pisses me off. And it's like not even the dev's fault, right? Because like there's so much work to do. They have to put out all this stuff. But like they can't take out Juggernaut from Warzone. Who's working on that? Is there a guy that is actually like dedicated to that right now? They're probably making the new game. I don't know.
I mean, I'll show them where to put the spawn. So you just gotta I'll draw it up.
I did that last year.
Yeah, crazy, man. My bad. I was ranting for a second.
Go for it. I love it, TeeP. Let's go.
It's just like it's so a lot. Good. I mean, it's a lot for the devs obviously to do, and it's just
no, 100%.
I don't know. I think we all just want a dedicated title, and it's cool to see them transitioning in that direction with you know, mobile Warzone. Who knows? You know,
it all goes back to the single biggest issue right now with everything. It's two separate beasts.
Yeah.
Like, until it's like one thing, or like the CDL is a priority and tied to the franchise side, it's going to be like this. And I don't know if that'll ever happen, but as it is right now. From Activision,
but even deeper into that,
entirely.
Even deeper, that's two different monsters with Treyarch and Infinity Ward. I mean, it's just they also like until there's a super dev or you know they're working. What I don't know how that conversation would start, but like that's even another thing. Like their heads of studio believe you know this way, and I mean you have Infinity Ward fans, you have Treyarch fans, you have like. I'll be honest, that rivalry was really popping like a COD 4 to Black Ops 1 to World of War to Black Ops 2 to MW2 to MW3. The last couple of times, I think it's pretty much gone away with like Infinite Warfare Ghost. I think that like Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 4 crushed it. I just think it crushed it. Obviously, last year, you know, for a lot of people, that really brought MW back and which put IW back. And I just think that is alive and clear now, once again, of that whole different studio mindsets heading into the design of the games.
Yeah, completely agree. big old topic. I'm sure we could talk about that one for 4 hours straight. Let's transition though. So we talked about sort of the format with CDL, how year one went. We touched very briefly on champs and everything there. Let's get a little bit back into some CDL stuff. We went from 5s to 4s again.
Wait, you mean
God?
we went from 5v5, which had pubs, but then they said now we're going back to 6v6. So we're like, oh, all right.
You know what's funny though? As much as we love Treyarch and gas Treyarch, and don't get me wrong, I love you, Treyarch. If anyone's watching, I love you. They're the reason we were in that goddamn situation to begin with. Just so we're all clear. That wasn't IW. 5v5 was all Treyarch. So we got into that situation, and you know, I think it was kind of around Black Ops 4 and plans and how they saw the synergy between the different operators. And
well, it was trying to bridge the gap. I mean, that was always a theory of like the public playlist is too different from this type thing.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make it 5v5, and pubs were 5v5.
And part of me even thinks maybe it was worth a shot. See how it got. I mean, I could have told you it would have been like it was, but like maybe it was worth a shot. But thank God we're back to 4v4, and not just from a gameplay. I mean, I actually care less about the gameplay standpoint and the players and the pros. Like just for my old ass commentating, I can't wait to be able to just
There's a lot going on for you, right?
Watch a mini map and just know what's going on and be able to break it down. We'll have Joe break it down while I actually understand what's happening.
Poor Baldy's brain was overclocked there, trying to keep up with the 5v5 HP.
Didn't stop. I mean, even last year, I was just like, I don't know what happened. Like
a lot.
we would go to break, and
really
I would rewind on YouTube to try to watch the mini map. Like, I mean, but I know what you're saying.
And
I think
breath of fresh air.
Oh, for sure. And listen, for those that don't really understand what we're talking about, 5v5 in a lot of ways just kind of dumb the game down. There was less standout performers. Basically what you saw is your main AR player was really your main guy putting up crazy stats, and then everyone else was just kind of a role player on the roster. You know, obviously there were some outliers there on BO4 and Modern Warfare, but it just created this situation where Respawn and S&D, it just turned into a lot of like, oh, the best kind of strategy here is you get a close spawn and you just go together, right? Everything that you do together was just a better play. Whereas 4v4, there's more room for just an individual performer to stand out, right?
You can make an error too. I mean, you make the wrong decision, you put your team in a bad spot. You win a big gunfight, you put your team in a better spot. That rarely happened in 5v5, and it was very rare. I mean, you go the wrong way in a 4v4 and your team spawns on you. Good luck. Like, honestly, I mean, we already see it. I've seen some blowouts in scrims, like some absolute blowouts, like 250 to 50s because people didn't rotate or one person just made one dumb play. Like, I think it takes a lot away from the strategy of the game, from the importance of specific gunfights, the way you have to move around the map. And it slows the game down a bit.
How different is it for you, Chris, as a coach? Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, as a coach, I was going to say, so like spectating last year as a coach, I would get confused here and there, and I watch it for a living. You know, like there'd be some times where I'd be watching like a Hackney Yard hardpoint or a Gunrunner hardpoint, and like you almost lose track of what's going on. And I've been a professional player and I've coached professional gameplay before, and then like you watch it, I can always relate to like the casual person just like watching for the first time and watching a Hackney Yard hardpoint and just being like, all right, let's see how this goes, and just being like, holy shit, what is going on? Because even as a caster and observing, like you don't know what the hell is going on. They don't know what to catch, and there's 5 people on the map. Like there's more important gunfights over here, there's 4 people over here on this side of the map. There's just a lot going on. And I feel like for the spectating experience, because I don't really talk on that too much, but the spectating experience for 4v4 is so much more simple. And then watching it as a coach, there's a lot more importance on a gunfight now on the map, on the rotation. If this guy rotates at this time and he kills him here, they spawn here now. Like, and that's so easy to explain, and it's almost so easy to watch, where if there was an extra person on the maps, even in this game, it would just be like a shit show. Good spawns or not, it would just be much more confusing for people to watch and like kind of understand what's going on. And then what TeeP said too, like there's just so many times, like in a 5v5 hardpoint scenario, you just spawn front and go, because you can just try and bully out the front, and that's the best strategy. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to adapt to whatever's thrown at you, but in a 4v4 way, that's usually not going to work. And now that we're back to it, it's definitely the word refreshing is probably the best way to put it for me. It's just so nice to be able to sit back and kind of take a breather while watching too.
One thing I do want to put out there is I think the control that we saw in BO4 is something that's going to be hard to match. I feel like whatever they were able to do, feel free to disagree. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this too. I just don't know if 4v4 control is going to be as exciting. It's going to be a lot of like relying on one guy very slowly sitting on the point while they're, I don't know. I just feel like 5v5, maybe it was just the game, but I feel like there's
Go ahead. They need to adjust everything. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, you have to. So right now, from what I haven't watched Control like too much and analyzed it because I know there's some things that are probably going to get changed and stuff. But overall, Control in 5v5 when you stack the point with 5 people would go really fast, and then 4v4 it doesn't because you have
the values. The values are probably the same. They just have to adjust.
They have to change a couple things and change the spawns here a little bit. And I think we are for a good year. But right now, as it is, it's going to be hard to replicate that. But from how much updates they've already shown us with spawns and guns and this, I'm actually not too worried of that just because they care that much. Where I think they're going to force it to be pretty good. So I think Control should be good. As of now, it's kind of weird. But I haven't really watched it too much and like analyzed it like full-heartedly yet. But I think it's good. I think we'll be able to
a good amount. No, 100%. Yeah, Control is in a very weak point. It's very defense heavy. You can even some maps you have a couple of pushes. They'll have to adjust the time. I think they have to move some locations around. Yeah, it's one of those things though. I think. It's kind of at this point, it's almost like Treyarch. It's kind of their baby, right? I think they're watching intently with Control and what they need to do. I think it'll still get there. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, who immediately they're trying to rush the process, which I understand. This is what people do because we only have 11 months or whatever to play the game, but I think people are trying to really rush the process. And what is the immediate thought? Oh, CTF is great. And it's just like, well, have you seen CTF? Have you played it? Do you know where spawns are? Do you know where flags are? Okay. We've tried this a couple of times before. Probably not. I think we all agree the easiest thing to do is probably try to get Control in every title based on what we've seen. We think it can be a better, consistent map, like game mode.
I'm a CTF guy still. I'm one of those people.
But see, are you a CTF? So you liked World War II CTF?
No. But
I was going to say.
So here's my point.
When was the last time you liked CTF? Yeah. 7 years ago.
But it's the reason why. Like, why was CTF good then? People still don't understand what makes a good CTF. Right? I think some of the World War II maps we had for CTF were amazing for it. But why did it play so bad? Because you don't get punished and you don't have to make decisions. You go out and fight on the map and then you spawn up on your fucking flag. What a joke.
Yeah.
That's
that
not
would be
what
the
good
same
CTF
here, though.
is.
Because you would play Flag Tower. You play Flag Tower in London Docks, right? And that's what would happen. The only map that was more traditional was Ardennes Forest, in which, it was a tough one to cast, for sure, a tough one to watch.
Made Courage quit.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
If you look at this game, what would you play?
It could have been good.
Probably Checkmate, maybe CTF, Garrison, CTF. Crossroads, which we're kind of looking at the same thing though. They're very small in terms of CTF. They are. You would probably the spawns would be right on top of the flag, and they would.
I think that's a mistake though. I don't think I think that's wrong. I think
okay. Well, then if they're not in your base, they're middle of the map in which you overextend, and you just we have stalemates back and forth. Right.
In some scenario, if you're playing, it depends on the matchup for sure. But like, Did people not like watching a 5-4 London Dock CTF?
That was the only one that was worth watching in World War II.
I didn't mind that. At least stuff was
happening.
Players
avoided it with the vetoes. Players avoided it because they knew it was too crazy. The only map that you could control would be Ardennes Forest. It was a more basic fundamental CTF.
Yeah. But the TeeP saying
my point is Ardennes Forest spawns. Ardennes Forest spawns were absolute hot garbage, and they never got fixed. Ardennes Forest could have been a really, really good CTF map. That's my point. I don't think they went away from what made a good competitive CTF, where you have overextend spawns. On Ardennes Forest, you didn't have them. That's the point. That's the problem the whole time. That's why people thought it was so boring. Clint, you disagree? You seem like
No. You can finish. I'm just thinking about like what really annoys me about CTF.
Well, no, I agree with TeeP in the sense of like talking about Arden's Forest. It's just if I were to get a kill like pushed up like 50% of the map and you're actually pushed up and like on one side of it, instead of spawning on their point, they should be spawning cabin, like the cabin.
Well,
spawn.
it was just the one
And then
side
they're
though,
forced
because
with
the
that
one
split.
side
Correct.
was back
It was the one
ruins,
side.
but the other side, and that was the same issue that we had in Black Ops 3. I mean,
Mhm.
Black Ops 3 had a couple of good CTF maps, but Stronghold sticks
Stronghold.
out in which
you spawn
you
on
would
your
just
base.
play the back of your base. Yeah, and I guess to my point
But if you-
is that like if we aren't going to have these maps that we're going to carry from title to title to title, it's easier to adjust control than it is CTF.
That's a fact.
That's true. Yeah.
You can
I agree
move
with
the
that.
sites around. It's
I'll
similar,
give you that
similar to search and destroy. You can make search almost work on any single map. I played map gen in COD 4 and
Yeah.
MW2. You could make search work on anything because you can move bomb sites around. You can move spawns around. It's easier to do that. And it's the same thing with control. You can move the points around. It's just easier to adjust and basically play on any map.
Facts. I'll give you that one.
This is what I hate about CTF. Quick, and this is something like I didn't really think about a ton, or I have in the past. But if it's hard point, and one team's a lot better than the other, and shitting on them, what happens?
Game ends quick.
If it's search and destroy, the game sucks. And there's a good team shitting on them.
Game
what
ends quick.
This is why I hated Dom last year with the rules. Why
Dom
I hate
was brutal.
CTF.
Mercy rule.
If it's 10 to fucking 0 in CTF, I'm sitting there for 10 minutes. Like, it sucks as a viewer. It sucks as a caster. It's horrible. I prefer the modes that, like, if someone's going to hammer someone, fucking hammer them and get them off the map.
But
Would you say
I don't
that about
know.
Uplink? You wouldn't.
Uplink was just fun, man. But Uplink,
Well, Uplink, you had
was
momentum, and you
1,000
can
times
pass
better
the ball, and
It
you
was
put people in
1,000
spawn
times better
traps.
than CTF. Like, in my opinion. It was
Wait,
1,000
Uplink. I
times
think
better.
Uplink's probably the best game mode Call of Duty's ever
100%.
had for competitive.
100%.
in my
I
opinion.
fucking
Yeah.
loved Uplink.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a good point though, TeeP. Yeah, it's the same thing there. But like,
CTF with a
I guess it was just
5 cap
flashier,
mercy
more
or
fun.
something. I don't know.
but like CTF
We're not
just
playing
always,
CTF, so I'll move on. But
even in Black Ops 2 though.
No,
like,
I
even when
guess
watched it,
that's what
like
people
one
are
good one
saying.
for every
That's
10.
all.
I feel like there's like one good one really entertaining for 9 boring.
I wanted to back up the CTF people because we haven't gotten what we've wanted. That's the
I
problem.
think people are
The
frustrated that we
problem
just
is,
haven't
though,
been able
is-
to play CTF. Yeah, like a real CTF in a while.
The problem is instead of trusting the devs to make the right adjustments for control, they immediately just go to, nope, we're done with control. Let's play CTF. And it's like,
Yeah.
you even thought about playing CTF on a Garrison or on a Checkmate
Yeah.
or I don't know, in Miami. Well, it might take you an hour to get to the flag home. Like, I just these people don't think sometimes, and it just stresses me out.
Bring back Gridiron.
But I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I think CTF is
Good idea.
fantastic if we can have, raid and standoff and, all these great CTF maps that we've had in the past. But the fact is we just haven't. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, you're like, man, I love CTF. You guys remember that complexity impact game? That was 7 years ago, guys. Like,
No.
that's it.
It's gone.
It's too
It
reliant.
was.
It's too
It was
reliant
7
on too
years
many
ago.
factors that aren't
Black Ops
easy
4
to
control. There was a control every day I was going wild about. Like,
So yeah, Joe's point is spot on. You can trust the dev to fix control faster and easier than you would any CTF map.
You don't need a whole new map. Like, no,
Yeah.
someone will even be fixable in CTF.
Yeah.
Like, it's
No,
too, it's too
you're
map
right.
reliant.
For sure. So yeah, how did we get on that topic again? We're talking about 5v5 to 4v4.
No.
And then,
yeah, 44.
Yeah. Okay. You guys want to talk about some of the confirmed rosters so far since we transitioned back to 4v4? Obviously, teams had to make a hard decision of who they dropping. Crazy situations going down. It put these teams in very tough situations where teams that were performing extremely well, you don't want to make a roster change. You have to. Teams that are performing badly don't want to pay more players because it's just a money pit at that point. Is that too real? Might be too real, but it's true. So you get to, some teams probably are happy that the transition happened for 4v4. And now we are stuck in a situation where not all the teams are, confirmed yet, but we have a pretty good idea of what these teams are looking like. I'm going to throw up the current CDL rosters. I just pulled this from COD Game PD. If you guys want to check out the website, shout out to them for all the great stuff that they do. But if you guys just want to go, pick a roster, pick an individual, just take it away, one of you guys. What do you guys think about some of these rosters, standouts? What are you guys thinking?
Chris, why don't you talk about your team? Like, you kind of lived through this, right?
Yeah, the last year was brutal, man. Like this going through like a roster change that had to happen was tough. Like for our team, like I mean, imagine Dallas too, like winning the event and stuff. But my team specifically, I think we struggled last year, and I'm probably going to talk about this more too when I talk to Priesta one-on-one. But like our team was so good last year in practice and like when we were going over things, and like we had a lot of wins and we had a lot of second places, but we always lacked like when I'm not there with them, like in an actual tournament match, and there's like no one actually leading the troops and being able to, make those tough time calls and those decisions and those late game decisions. We had no one that would like kind of speak up and really like put their foot down and everyone would listen to. So we struggled with that like throughout the year. And then like we had the roster change that everyone talked about. Like we had our main AR, like Mike was incredible. And I still think Mike was one of the best players that we could have had last year. But we needed someone that Abizi and Celium and Simp, and like even if it was Priest at the time when we were talking about, like we needed someone that was going to speak up and everyone was going to listen to in practice.
Needed
where
a
like
dad, in-game dad.
yeah, because when I would tweak on them in scrims if we had a bad day, they would listen to me. Honestly, I had no really issues, but like when something's going wrong in a match and I come into the team speak after the first map, I'm not there. I don't hear the communication at the time. Like we heard the communication at champs, but I don't know what the hell's going on. And like I can't tell them like in the game in Search and Destroy, like, yo, remember what we watched in VODs? Like make sure we do this. Like I'm not there. So I think our team like searched for more of like the leader role with Arcides, and that's like how we've been there. So like we've been looking really good. But like a lot of these teams this year are it's all gonna come down to like just how they play and like making like the simple plays over and over. Like I think we've been playing Florida a lot. I don't know if Florida's officially announced, are they? Yeah, they are.
Yes,
So
just yesterday.
Florida's officially announced, and like we've been playing them, and like they're a team that will probably get overlooked this year. But in my opinion, I think they'll be pretty good just because like players that make the right plays, and I think like Slack's like really underrated, and we've said that. Yeah, Slack had a rough year last year, and I mean a lot of players did. But like this year, like a player like Slack, I think is like super important to a team. Like having the players go the right way at the right time and play the right spots is going to go so much farther than some idiot running through the middle of the map and just trying to go for a 3-piece in like the 5v5 mode of like Modern Warfare. You played Gunrunner, someone ran up the middle of the map and got a 3-piece with squad spawns, you spawn right back with your team. You can't do that really in this game unless everyone's on the same page. So I think those roles and like those players are going to be really, really important. So I think a lot of these rosters are going to see that and like really put value into that probably later in the season as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And just speaking on the Slack pickup for just a second, I think it's just a great move. He obviously that roster throughout the Modern Warfare season didn't do anything that we thought they were going to do. But
Surge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him going over to, I guess like I don't know. I guess some of them are younger, but I feel like exactly like you said, he's going to be like that alpha personality when he needs to be, but he's also one of those guys that'll, take the back seat if he needs to too. So I think it'll be a good balance there. But yeah,
I think that team's gonna be good.
Some of the notable changes too, I guess we got to talk about is some of the teams that just did sort of like a clean wipe with their rosters. I guess one that we can talk about right away is we'll go into Rocker. Obviously, they do a big old change. They have Accuracy, Priesta, Major Maniac, and Attach now. For teams that we were very vocal throughout the Modern Warfare season on our episodes of we would roast teams for making bad business decisions. And I feel like a lot of these teams and management are starting to learn the community more. Maybe. So they're going for safer bets. I don't know, especially with the transition over 4v4, if we're going to see the amount of risk taking that I guess we saw for last season. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Do you feel like teams took enough risks last season? Do you think teams were playing it a little bit too safe in terms of building rosters?
Well, I think that for the most part, it was pretty. Yeah, a lot of teams took some risks. I think maybe like if you look at Seattle, but I think we all just basically knew that it's probably a budget thing at that point. If there wasn't, they weren't trading anybody or going for something.
No money. Yeah.
To me, I mean, they just spent money on a roster. I mean, if the Seattle Surge, we started 4v4 Cold Wars year one, and the Seattle Surge came out with Octane, Karma, Slacked, and Apathy as their 4v4 team, I'd be like, pretty damn good team for 4v4. But it was just a tough year. So I think maybe that was the one team that them and Paris were probably the two teams that really didn't change much, right? Like they just didn't take any risks. But
Paris didn't change at all last year, right?
Yep.
They were like the
No, I
one
think so.
team.
No
Yeah.
one really took. You're saying they took risks last year, but no one did for launch. Like people took risk on young players. They made changes, but
I
like,
thought that's what you said. Okay.
well, I think he's saying now with these new rosters, no one is. But yeah, like I don't think the risks are going to happen that much before they compete in the game. Like I think people will be safe, like with a new title.
Yeah.
But then once we get into the title a little bit, and you see somebody frying in challengers, then maybe you'll take a risk. But what risks? I can't. Was there anything risky on the original rosters last year at all?
On the original rosters?
No, nothing, right?
No.
It was all like
nothing really, no.
established players.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be the will it change eventually? Maybe, but I think at the beginning of the year with a new title and how people know sometimes people are good title to title, it'll probably be pretty safe rosters based on like the last year, and then you'll see changes happen as we go into the year.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Shotzi was a risk, I guess.
Oh,
I mean, I don't view him as a risk.
I don't either, but I think
don't
you're right.
Yeah, I don't view him as a risk knowing him and actually speaking to Kyler last year. Like, this is gonna sound stupid, but I mean, I guess it plays out though. But this is like was my theory on him. Kyler, if you ever played against Kyler, he is one of the hardest kills in the map, like ever. Even probably still to this day, he's one of the hardest kills in the map. He's one of the most talented players that you'll ever play against. Kyler went to Halo when he wasn't 18 to compete. And when he went to Halo, he was successful. He had his wins here and there, and he did his thing. But when I talked to him, like briefly, like when he was during his Halo season and I was doing COD, he told me that he could, like, Shotzi was the best player he's ever played against in his entire life. And like, he's tremendously, like, he used to say like things like I think Shotzi's like better than me at that game, like by far. Like, I think he is like the most talented player I've ever played. And even though it's not Call of Duty, if you have someone like Kyler who was that good at COD that switches to Halo, and he became the man in Halo 2. Kyler was very good at Halo, like out of those players, telling me that like Shotzi is like unfuckwithable. Like he is the fucking GOAT. Like I think right there, like that's enough for me to be like, all right, well, this kid clearly got the talent no matter what. So like, depending on his attitude and work ethic, I don't really know Shotzi that well. He's going to be amazing. That's why I didn't view that as a risk, but that is a risk though. From a management standpoint, that's a huge risk.
Yeah. And Frosty Formal do it. I mean, I had no concerns. Like if you're that elite at a console game, like Formal did it. He was top of his
that's what I mean.
Like, he was arguably better than Formal was in his prime at Halo. So
that guy wasn't even scrimming, and he was winning world championships.
Yeah, no, I had zero concerns, but I think I would put that in a risk check mark.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he hadn't competed in COD, but outside of that, I don't really think anything. But a good call. That's a good shout out.
And Illy too.
Yeah,
Illy, I guess too. But like, Illy's another person. Like he was running the S&D scene for years. Yeah. But like, it's still. To take that risk, like that team was just really well made. They had a lot of young talent with the right veterans, and then they got Rambo as a coach halfway through the year. Like they had the right amount of knowledge and IQ and the right amount of young talent to like form like a really good team. So that was like a well calculated risk. That wasn't just like, oh, we're picking this guy up because we got no one else, and here we go. Like that was a very calculated risk.
Weird to call Illy a risk. It's like he's like he's like a guy I've been waiting for.
It's like if you said United took a risk on Simp.
Exactly. That was my first thought. Like, do we consider Simp a risk? Because I don't know about that one, but yeah. But now it'll be interesting to see though if that changes more in the future. I mean, I was curious to see what would happen, and obviously not in a starting lineup, but with like mental and stuff, like how that would go if he would be thrust into a starting lineup after seeing what happened with Nazi. Like,
even just in general, like, I mean, we had a pretty long challengers year last year. I mean, the players were pretty consistent last year. I mean, NAU. Well, I guess we have Hydra, right? Mm-hmm. Hydra will be in New York. That's probably a risk. I mean, people know how good he is, but I guess
his is a risk for the language.
I think if we were still on like 5v5, 16 or like 12 team 5v5, maybe if there was an expansion of 4 teams, I think you would see more of a risk for sure.
Yeah.
With the challenger team, but I think because it goes down to 4v4 and you're still at 12, then that's what it. Yeah. So
a couple.
How much too many risk?
So interesting things to me when I saw some of these changes going down is the like individual that some of these franchises decided to like back. So gonna throw out a couple names. This is hot takes.
We talk Minnesota.
Yeah, hot takes a little bit, but Royal Ravens end up sort of backing Shawnee. It seemed like that was kind of a shock to me. He did perform really, really well at the end of the Modern Warfare season, so I guess not too surprising there. But when you just look at like the name, is that like interesting at all to you guys? Another one that sticks out to me is on the Guerrillas side, where they kind of ended up sticking with Vivid. That one,
Right.
like out of all of the names in the hat that do you guys think it might have been like a contract thing? It depended on like the contract that they had with them already. It saved them money. Do you think it was they're just backing the talent? I don't know.
Just those two teams. Well, I think Vivid showed enough that he deserved a chance personally.
Yeah.
Like just in Search and Destroy alone, like the guy was like the second biggest playmaker behind like Abisi when it came to
Well,
like, engagement.
My thing for that is so there can I mean money is usually a huge thing, contracts and saving orgs money if he's really good. Like Vivid was probably not on some crazy contract because he just joined and you know like,
so that's sort of my point. Is that like a bang for your buck?
So,
like they think they're good enough and also have a pretty favorable contract for the business, right? I don't know.
I'm sure that's a thing, but I don't know how other people run like their business, and it's Atlanta Faze is not mine either. But
yeah,
like if I were to ever have my own team and like I have a good amount of authority with my team, like I think it's like work ethic and attitude. Like the one thing that we don't get to see as much, like you can talk to players and you hear this side, that side, you guys know how that goes. And like from the spectator point of view, like you don't know what happens behind some of the closed doors and scrims, man. Like some players that show like really good work ethic, like or like really good stats in a match, like you don't know what the hell they're putting their players through in practice. And that's not, this is not taking a shot at anyone. I really don't know. But I feel like that's how like I would like to make my decision on keeping people too. Like maybe for the London Royal Ravens, like I'm very surprised myself that Scraps, Wuskin are not picked up or like built around it. Even Dylan, even though Dylan probably didn't play the best last year for himself and his standards, Dylan is raw talented. Like he's good. Like he is raw talent. He is really good. But like I have no idea what happens behind the closed doors of those scenes. So like maybe their manager or coach says like, you know, like even though those guys are this, like maybe you shouldn't do that. I have like no clue. So like that would be the only thing for the Royal Ravens. Maybe like it was something where like their chemistry was off and maybe they thought they can build around that. I guess because I personally think that Wuskin, Scraps, and Dylan are all fucking incredible. So I think maybe them not being together might be better for all three of them. You know, like maybe they split off and like do their own thing. Yeah. But I think each one of those players should be on a team and they should be very good. So
I just want to get this point. I think a lot of these teams, like I just think online or not online, we had half of the league win last year. At some point, 6 teams won last year. And I think that just showed, and I know not every team was at every event and this and that, right? Whatever. I know, yes, I get it, Clint. But all I'm saying is I think these teams internally looked at each other and said the talent is going to be here. Like Call of Duty players are good enough now. Like there has been so many talented players throughout these years where I think the chemistry thing is that important. It has to be. It needs to be that important where these guys look forward to practicing together, look forward to putting in that extra work. Because I mean, there's plenty of examples last year included where the talent just straight up didn't get you there. It didn't. And other teams were more successful because they worked harder.
Well, and it won't get you there ever again.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to put together a team that plays the game, doesn't watch VOD, and just says, fuck it. That's like, it's not going to happen. It's plain and simple. Like you have teams like our team, Optic, 100 teams. Like you can go down the line. Almost every single team in the league, to be honest, is a team that you can't just bully in talent. So like when it comes down to like actually winning and or having consistent placings and not just winning, it's like you're gonna have to have a team that watches VOD, actually respects their coach, actually like respects
people
each
that
other,
buy into the system,
shows up on time, doesn't wake up 6 hours late for scrims. Like there's a billion things that like you're gonna have to do if you want to take it to the next level. With how competitive the leagues are getting, especially this year, in my opinion, I guess you can all take the guess that this is probably the most competitive Call of Duty has ever been. Before even watching it. And I know we say that every year, but it really is getting more competitive
we're back
every
to
single year. And now we're back to 4v4. So like, I think that is probably the most important thing for most of these teams building the roster. And I'm assuming, I don't know, because there's also probably management that doesn't care, doesn't watch the VODs and just says, you know what, I like this guy. So there's always two sides to it. But if I'm a manager of a team or a coach and, you know, people aren't doing what they're supposed to, I don't care how good you are. That's how I view it. So I don't know.
I think there is a line, just like there is in actual sports. Like if you are a super megastar, you can get away with some bullshit more than others. But
Who's the
that
super
line-
mega star for you in Call of Duty?
God, right now,
Simp,
probably like
Shotzi.
Simp, Shotzi. Maybe you go Kenny. I know he didn't have the best year last year, but I mean, there's probably like 5. There's not that many.
That's
But
what I
I'm
mean,
saying,
yeah.
I'm saying there are the line's starting to blur for sure, but like there are a couple that can. But I think Joe and you are spot on the sense of teams are going to be less willing to deal with bullshit, which is why I think the biggest example of this, even before this year, was, and we don't know the full details, but whatever happened with GodRx. Like that guy went from last half of Black Ops 4 being arguably a top 5 player, first half of MW arguably being a top 5 player, to on a bench to not on a team.
Crazy.
So like there, and I don't, it had to have been chemistry or attitude or fucking something, because like I just think people don't want to deal with shit anymore. Like they'll find another good player. Like think about that. That's wild though. Like he was for a year-long span over 2 titles, like a god. Like he was like a consistent 1-2, 1-3. Like that's just not common. Just bang out of the league. So yeah, I don't think people.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to work
deal
with
with
and I think these managers are talking to their players. Like for if we were going to focus on London, I think a big pickup for them was probably getting Alex. You have the duo in Alex and Dylan. You probably consult with them. I think Trey has been internationally one of the most successful EU player. That's a pretty obvious pickup, and then you're already at your 3, and it's just sort of a discussion. So for that roster, I mean, I was playing a tournament with those guys. Like they were vibing, they were chilling. So maybe Shawnee, just because of the chemistry he brings, maybe he does. We don't know too much about London because we don't have great, personal relationships. Maybe it's a leadership thing.
Yep.
Whatever it may be, it just feels like he's a good teammate. And they trusted them as that 4th. So they got their stars and who they believe is going to be their stars moving forward. And they got a solid 4th who is a good teammate.
For sure.
And working off of that, like going to a different roster, that like I think like if you look, I know I gas him all the time, but accuracy, like I think the reason why accuracy is still here today and like doing as well as he's been doing, he won last year, right? New York won once, right? Am I wrong? No, New York won once last year with accuracy.
Yeah.
I think accuracy is a perfect example of like what we're talking about. Like,
can we talk
Lamar.
about Minnesota? They pulled a
we could.
heist, bro.
Yeah,
they pulled an absolute heist.
Goddamn the actual thieves, dude.
Yeah.
How do you
First of all, I don't know how they get Priesta. I don't know how Priesta doesn't go to
great work
to Slasher, Kenny, and TJ. Listen,
Money,
bag or not, it's a success thing, right? Absolute heist. I think Attach as well. There is another player in this, in that to me, Attach going to Minnesota says that Attach trusts, he believes in accuracy, what Chris is saying, more than Zuma and maybe at that moment Clay, because Clay was potentially going to New York, or maybe they're, I don't know, based on like the roster details. But like even before they knew they were getting Priesta, he probably was trusting accuracy to go to Minnesota. So that was a big loss for New York, in my opinion, and a huge win in Minnesota. You have your stars there now in Attach and in Priesta, which is wild.
And I think like, so to the Attach thing, I mean, I don't know if he still feels like this, but I've talked to him before, like behind the scenes, about like Lamar and how Lamar like runs his teams from TK dating back to World War II. Lamar doesn't deal with bullshit for the most part. Like he has times where like he probably tweaks a little bit too hard in scrims, like he gets a little too hard on the team. But overall, like every team that Lamar's on, 95% of the time is a pretty clear cut, like strict team. Like they go the right ways at the right time. They run the right routes. And like having that system in your team, in my opinion, is so huge. And every team that he's on usually does that. And Attach is someone that thrives in a system like that. So that's why he always usually
sticks funny because he used to be such a little shit.
Oh, I know. Trust me. He went. Attach went through me before he got to Lamar. Like I trust me. I dealt with him, and now Lamar knows it. So
and Cap.
So I feel like it speaks to a personality thing too. It's tough to be that guy on the team and still have a positive reputation within like a lot of the pro community, right? Like if you're always the guy that's like keeping everybody in check, like
you're annoying.
Yeah, right. And a lot of players in the scene still are younger. They don't take to that, very well often. So the fact that he like it just speaks to your point even more. Like the fact that people buy into his system. That's arguably the hardest thing to do. And if you can command the respect of the teammates and everyone else around you, like it's gonna, you're better off. You know, you still might not win tournaments due to a talent thing or whatever, but it's a large
you'll
hurdle.
always be there.
Yeah,
and
you'll
that's
be in
what
contention.
If you were in an organization, a coach, a manager, whatever it is, if you're not going to win, of course you always want to win. You want to get first place, but if you're not going to win, you don't want to just be the dud of the league and just get smoked every time you show up, right? And you always can work around and make a roster change here and there of things that don't work for you if you have that system implemented with your coach and your leader of your team. So having someone like Lamar is huge, but for that Minnesota team, we haven't talked about him at all. Major Maniac, I coached him personally, and I know last year he got a lot of flack for not getting kills or whatever it was, and that was total bullshit. And we've kind of talked about that on this podcast a bunch of times. That's another kid that is going to work his ass off. He shows up when he needs to. He shows up to the VODs. He puts his input in there, and like he's going to do what you need, whether it's run a sub on this map, run an AR on this map, do what you have to do in search. Like having a team that listens, like that team can thrive. And even if like sometimes after all of this being said and done, you just can't get over the hump to win because something's not working. That doesn't even mean like a player's bad or anything. It's just, you know, they might just need to do that one change. But if you're in that spot as an organization just to make that one change, it's better than having to clear wipe your roster and start again like over and over. So I think Minnesota definitely made out this offseason in a really good spot.
Well, and it's a short-term memory thing, which, you know, our community has so bad. Like, I mean, Major Maniac was a star in Black Ops 4 and Gen G. I mean, Gen G was a top 4 team.
And Priesta. And
I mean, he was him and Envoy were the star. They were the structure. They were the of course, until champs. You know, I get it, but like he was a star. He ran a Maddox. Like this whole slow talk conversation, like people just pull it out of their rear end. And it's funny. I just look over at Twitter and there's a screenshot and Major Maniac's 18-1 in a scrim, like on a 15th streak. Yeah. Right, like so, like, dude, like, I don't know. I think Minnesota, in terms of what they did in the offseason, might be one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive, roster overall.
It's like biggest upgrade potentially. You know, who knows how they're going to perform, and we have to wait and see. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat Surge for biggest upgrade because at least Rocker got to a lot of semifinals. Surge,
Rocker was good.
Surge didn't even compete last year, so
True.
They're probably going to be most improved, I hope.
Yeah, by default, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about that roster then. So we all knew Octane wasn't going anywhere, right? So he
superstar build it.
He built. What did he build? Gunless, Pristini, and Looney. Is this the formula? Is how, like, obviously Sam is an absolute beast, raw talent and aim as an AR player. He's tough to match up with. Is this team going to do enough to... What's the expectation level here? Are they going to win a tournament? No, I don't think they are. Are they going to contend? Maybe a little bit, but like...
Well, could be in that conversation, right? That Chris is sort of talking about.
Does it come down to the subs kind of? Because it feels like, and you guys have more experience with this, but like any like top team has always had sort of like that TeeP, that objective type sub, and then a sub that fries. Like that's sort of been the thing, right? Like these guys both are kind of just that objective smart sub in a way, like not the and I'm not saying they can't perform that way. It's just what they've been on teams in the past.
Someone will have to go to that role. Someone has to step up.
But they can because at main AR, I mean, I've got no question with Octane. It flex with Gunless. We know when he is in form and wants to compete and is locked in, he is a top flex in the game. No question there. The other two, because Looney didn't even really play last year. Pristini had his ups, had his downs like every other year. I find myself wanting this team to do well, just considering how shitty their years have been recently.
For Octane sanity.
For his sanity, for Gunless' sanity, for Looney's sanity, for Pristini, who's not with his brother anymore. Like, I find myself wanting to get behind this team, but
I agree. I think this team goes the route. So I think Octane, after what happened last year, that team was an absolute shit show. Peep gets Looney because of what we were just talking about. He needs someone to keep his ass in line, right? Make sure he's doing the right thing, and then also make sure the team's like kind of kept in check. And Looney's really he's been well known for that. I actually don't. I don't know him very well in the sense of like I've never really played with him. But talking to Danny or Looney, I'm gonna start using gamer tags because I know people get
Yeah.
confused. But it's, for Looney, like he's a really, or I've been told he's a really good leader. He's a very smart player.
He's
If you ever
similar to
talk
like
him,
Lamar. He is.
yeah,
He
if you ever
he
talk
keeps
to him
people in
outside
check.
of game, he's very, he doesn't deal with bullshit, and he's also a very smart player. So like, I think Octane wants that structure in a team just so he can kind of sit back and do what he does best, and we all know he can do that. Yeah, I think this is going to rely on like Pristini to step up as a player, which I think he really can. But
Mhm.
I would say the one thing I'm not even going to talk about Gunless because he's incredible, and we all know that when he's playing his best. And I think if they have that structure, he will. I just think, or what scares me, is that this team can be their own worst enemy with like frustrations if things aren't going well. That would be like my only thing that scares me. I would love to see this team do well this year, though, because all of them kind of deserve. And I mean, you never really deserve a good season, but you know they had rough years for the most
You
part.
wouldn't think this team has a lot of
Yeah.
composure.
When did
So
they
yeah,
team
that would
last,
be the
real quick?
scary part. What?
When did Octane and Looney team last? I know AW.
Black Ops 3.
Black Ops
They
3.
were
And they were
one of the
very
best
Rise,
teams
successful.
on
right.
Rise.
Yeah.
And they teamed in AW as well, right?
Wait, no.
And
Yes.
It's like
AW.
and then
That was
Gunless
NB3.
and Looney were on Rise in World War
Right.
II. I mean, that's the reason they went the Looney route. I mean, they both
Yeah.
have had
Yeah.
a big
Structure
amount
on
of
their
success.
teams. They
Yeah,
spawned
in
up, they knew what they were
4v4.
doing together, and they were like, all right, well, like that's what he wanted. And I think if they have that structure, it'll be really important. If they step up as slayers when they need to, that'll be good. But yeah, that would be
Mhm.
my one worry with this team is just if they don't get
Well, that's
frustrated with each
just
other. And that's
what
a
we
lot of
say
people's
with Gunless,
issue.
dude. Like
Yeah.
it's almost just to the point of like I don't know what does he need to do to get to that point, or you know, like I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. So many people have had that conversation, I'm sure, with him and what he needs to do to, because obviously it's just passion that he
Mhm.
speaks from, and he wants to win. Just doesn't go about it the right way, which leads to arguments. If that can get that dynamic can get figured out, we'll see what happens.
Guy
I
watches
mean,
too much anime, bro. It's a lot of passion in those things. Lots of
is
emotion.
that's
is that it?
I
Oh,
didn't think
yeah.
of it
They're
like that.
very, very,
The way
very
he
dramatic.
sees the game in his head too, like being as good as he is, I mean, it's definitely frustrating sometimes when like you see everything going through your mind and you're just like, guys,
Yeah.
like, could you please do, you know, like, please just
Yeah.
do what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, I get
I'll
that.
never forget what was the one thing Joe and I heard when we were casting. I can't remember if it was a league match or a tournament. It was the funniest goddamn thing I ever heard him say. Remember, it was after the one play, and I guess somebody told him to use a streak in the game show. And he was yelling,
He goes, don't tell me how to use my streaks that I earned. And we were like,
they're my fucking streaks. I was like,
I think they won that map too. They won it. It was like a round 11. It went to like map 5, round 11.
I was like,
And he
all
just
right.
like popped off. He goes, dude, it's my streaks. I'll use them when I want to use them. I earned them. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Oh shit, I love him.
Crazy, man. Let's
We're missing any
transition.
teams?
Yeah, let's transition. I was just going to talk about Optic's back.
Yeah,
Oh, LA Thieves. Oh my God, big moves going down. Holy smokes. So obviously the transition from Huntsman to Optic Chicago. You see the roster. I'll pull them up again. I'll pull them up again real quick. Boom, right here. Scump, Formal, Envoy, and Dashy is back over on the Optic side. Now, weird situation with Optic Gaming LA through the Modern Warfare season. Underperformed for basically the entire year. Kind of step it up at the end when they make the roster changes. And what do we think about the state of mind of Dashy after what happened the last
I
year?
mean, this is where he wanted to be.
Oh, of course.
That was all the drama, right?
he got
wanted to
blessed,
be on
right?
Chicago last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to be on Chicago last year. And I think he just kind of threw a fit because he wasn't. And that's when all the drama started. And then, yeah, I mean, we know how Slasher is, and he probably didn't like it. We know Dashy just wants to get on and kind of vibe a little bit, have some fun. I think that's what him and Scump love to do. TeeP, you can obviously speak to that.
Yep.
And these whole serious environment at times can, I think, maybe feel a bit overwhelming to him. But I just think there was like a podcast or something where there's a clip that like Hector basically had to sit him down and said like, you got to grow up a little bit this year. You know, like it's time. Like you threw a career, a prime year away last year. You threw it away. It's just what it was.
Absolutely.
He's got to have a big year, and he's got to be happy because he's what he feels is his home.
Can we talk about just if you guys have more to add on Dashy, feel free. But I mean, I kind of want to talk about just the change and Optic being back, Brand with Hector, and
Yeah.
I feel like we
It's
haven't
awesome.
really been able to talk about that because we haven't done an episode, and I don't know. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Neither did I. When
When
I heard the rumors, I was
Yeah,
like,
no
no
shot.
fucking way.
When
Yeah, no
think
way.
of any major sport over years with brands, there will be times where the city will obviously change, like the Minneapolis Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers. The city changes, but the branding doesn't, because branding is very, very important. And there was part of me that thought this wouldn't happen because that, it's tough. You spent the whole year on Huntsman. But I guess because it was only 1 year and Optic is fucking Optic, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. But
Yeah.
it is weird. Like I was trying to think of some other time in like sports or something like that's happened, but it's just crazy. Like I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I just had this thought. How so you see LA Thieves come in. You see Optic Chicago's back. How mad do you think some of these other franchises are that are like they didn't get their name?
Atlanta Faze.
Wouldn't you be so
I
salty
think
if
Faze
you're
started that.
Wouldn't you be so salty if you're one of these owners and now you see all like there's not just one team. There's several teams that just kind of just got the name of their
what other major
legally
It would
they
be
got around
Envy.
it. Well, I think they got around it because of the fact that I assume it's Faze Clan and they did Faze, and I guess Optic probably thought that it was Optic Gaming is their legal name, and they got Optic. I'm assuming it's
Hundred
It's just
It's just
But
Thieves.
so if you were Hastro, you would be upset. But I think the Dallas Empire
Empire's
branding
heat,
is
yeah.
awesome.
Empire.
I think that's better than Envy. Even though Envy's really cool. That was like probably my favorite team that I never got to play for when I was a pro. So but I think the Dallas Empire is awesome. They won the world championship. I think they're fine. So I don't know. I think some people would be mad, but I don't think any major org really lost out on it other than Envy, and they were fine. I think they're in a better spot. So
yeah, that's probably the only one. I'm trying to think. Maybe
when we did our first episode of Hardpoints like last year, we talked about the branding and stuff, and we all were like Empire. number one. Like we all loved it.
Surge was up there. Yeah.
Just thought I'd bring up the franchise names. I don't know. I just seeing another, you see Thieves come in. I wonder if it's like they're like what, like what the fuck?
I'm sure it's just some legal bullshit. The name's a little bit different than what it normally is, but
yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
So I guess the talking point. I guess the talking point I want to bring up when it comes to Optic Chicago is you lose somebody like Arcides, and then you replace. Well, obviously they lost multiple people, but Dashy's coming back in, right? Dashy's not the type of guy that's like an in-game leader, going to keep everybody in check, that type of thing. Scump can be, but he's pretty inconsistent at it, I will say. Formal's pretty good at it, also somewhat inconsistent at it, in my opinion. That's a lot of pressure on Envoy to be that guy. Will he always command the respect from these three people?
I think he does this.
Yeah. All the time, though. If they're doing poorly, things aren't going their way. I think Envoy is elite. He's one of those players that can do it all. He thinks about the game the right way. I watch a lot of his gameplay. He thinks differently than a lot of players on how to play Call of Duty. The league is really, really, really hard, though. And when you have, when things aren't going right, will he hold that respect when something goes wrong? If they lose a tough series or two tough series in a row at tournaments, things like that. That's my worry. He has the respect now, but I don't know. It could go south quickly. Go ahead.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, I mean, when I watch scrims and stuff, and obviously it's a little bit different. Him and Troy have really good chemistry. They sort of have a majority of the discussions. But to what your point is, someone does have to step up. I think it's Matt. I think it has to be formal.
I think it's Matt too.
I think he's sort of at that point in his career where it's time to do so. And when I watch, he does have a lot of it's a different Matt than what I've teamed with in the past. I think it is he definitely it just talks through things. How do we want to approach this and in that not? But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. You lose RCs who can sort of command the room a little bit. Who else can do it?
If Envoy's having a bad game and he's not as vocal as he usually is,
right? I know what you're saying.
Alpha Formal needs to come back and lead the boys. You can't always rely on one person. That's my point. So if you see an old version of Formal come back in terms of vocal leadership, it's a non-issue. But I don't know. I just thought it's worth bringing up.
Yeah, I
100%
mean,
correct.
I'll always
It's
be
a
worried
worry.
about this, regardless of who is. You could put any goddamn player in the world in that spot, and I'd still be worried about this exact thing. So
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I think Formal is more than capable of doing so, and I think the pressure point that you just talked about, like Envoy having a lot of pressure, he does, but I think more of the pressure would be on Formal and Scump to make sure, like,
Well-
if things do go wrong, they have to make sure the team doesn't like crumble apart. I think they're more than capable of doing so, and their coach too. Like, so, and I think Troy's a great coach. I think very highly of him. So I think they're fine, and I think they finally got the team that they all want. I think those four players have the team that they truly want for the first time in a little bit. And I think that will go a long way for them too. I don't think they've had like their first pick. Like Dashy was their first pick in this offseason, and everyone knew that, right? Like they knew after this was over, they were going to go get Dashy. Everyone knew it. Dashy knew it. The fans knew it. So I feel it was like they're very happy with this team. And if things do go wrong, I think they have like a good coach. I think Envoy is a very good superstar who does speak, and that goes a long way too. Sometimes your superstar being like annoying in game can be like a pain in the ass. I think he's really good at not doing that. And then having like Formal and Scump being able to like kind of, strap up and make sure they're keep commanding the troops is really good. So I think they're going to be fine.
I know I kind of brought up some negative sides from the Optic side. I'm just saying, like, can this team be cohesive enough to consistently beat a team that prepares like Dallas? We saw it, right? A team like Faze. I think the preparation at the super top level of this elite league is important. Will they have that same sort of mindset? On the other side, let's go back to the positive side. Dashy in form is going to be unkillable at times, especially with how I think the meta is going to play out with, like, I don't know, like your flex role. I think there's going to be a lot of meta shifts based on what we've already seen with the weapon balancing in this game. So I think throughout the course of a year, Dashy's a person, when he's in form, he's going to learn and be better and put up more kills at a faster pace than a lot of players in the league. So, like, I'm speaking from a lot of experience with these guys. Dashy in full form, they're going to destroy people with natural talent, right? Is their preparation always going to be there to compete with these teams that are consistently level-headed? That's
it's
stuff
one of
you
those
have to talk
things.
about.
Like, you talk about like the grand finals last year and like what Dallas did on Azure Cave to try to set up, like, against Faze, like that one hill, like that over preparation. Like, it's almost like if you go to a game 5, is Dashy just gonna be like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna just snipe, like, or let's just, I don't know, like, I know what you're saying, like, it is the over preparation, the VOD watching, it is those extra steps, and these guys are deeper into their careers now.
That's why most of us have them preseason rankings probably third or fourth, and not first or second. It's definitely not a talent thing. I mean, talent. Speaking of which, how are they paying Envoy with Popeyes gift cards? How are they paying this roster?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Does the salary cap go down from 55 to 44?
I'm not sure.
No
I don't
idea.
even know. If it stays the same, then I don't think it's that hard.
Is Envoy on a league min? Like,
but but seriously, when I'm looking at every roster, I just think of like what I would ask for in a contract and like what this team is. Like, Envoy's getting Popeye's gift cards.
Okay.
And that's not from a talent. Envoy might be the best player on their team right now.
And Dashy's just getting citizenship.
You know what I mean, though. Like
Dashy's getting a visa. The other two, Formal and Scum, T2P, are just literally the entire salary.
I'm thinking about this though. I'm thinking about this. Like when we know Dashy's, I'm not gonna say the exact number. We know Dashy's contract with Optic previous to the LA was big. He had a big contract. It's Dashy. He's one of the few superstars in the league. When that swap happened and like Pristini came in, it could not have been much money. There's no way, because Pristini wanted to play with his brother really bad. He was thrilled to get back with Optic. It was not much money. But now he's out and Dashy in. Like, I don't understand how they're paying this team. But all right, they figured it out. Good job.
Yeah, no, it's good to talk about. I don't know.
No clue.
More insight onto that stuff would be super interesting. We probably will never get it though. Thieves. So some teams that aren't official yet, there's rumors of scrims. You see stuff on the COD Reddit or on social media like, oh my god, these guys are scrimming with these guys, like, oh holy crap. So Thieves, not official, but they were scrimming with
They've been playing together a lot.
So I don't know what's going on there. Paris Legion, we've seen some rumored rosters. Well, we think it's Paris Legion, right? It's probably going to be Paris Legion, of course, right? So we see some teams that are obviously getting some reps in, things like that. The Paris Legion situation, we brought up like the whole money side of it. I wonder how the COVID side of things, is that basically what happened with Paris Legion is like they didn't want to spend a lot of money. There's no other way to say it, right?
They went the opposite way.
They said, "Oh, we're going to pay the minimum contracts. They're I don't know if saving cash.
Someone will take it. Like,
yeah, so we'll just sign whoever for the mins. It's like it's a weird strategy. Like, do you think it could work? Just doing this, like more bang for your buck.
From a business side, yeah. I mean, some of these players are making a lot of freaking money, right? And like, I guess going down to 4 players, there's only 48 players in the league. They just took it away of, you want to play in the league? Play for us. Like,
it's weird.
You really want to play in the league? Like,
it's actually not a bad idea.
Like, not a bad idea. They're not going to overspend,
There's like 40 players they can pick from.
You want to play in the league?
Look at the challengers teams. There's so many players. Like,
so to that point though, and I have I don't know how they run their org, and I have never talked to a Paris player, like if they like the management or not too, but on that side of things is like, wouldn't you want to make sure you have a good relationship though with the people that you play for, and not just like, you want to play in the league, like join our team or don't, like, I don't care. Like that's kind of like forcing their hand, and like that's a great idea from a business standpoint, but I feel that you want eventually years in the coming that you want someone to join your team and be like, use Optic as an example, Hector. You join Optic, not only are you joining the biggest fan base and all of that, and you probably have a really good team because they're always really good, but like Hector and the way he runs things and the content and like that like family vibe that they give off, I feel like that's something that not all players, but a lot of players want to join too. So
but
I feel
even in like sports,
that card though, I don't know.
I think like there's small market teams in like the NBA, and there's always going to be smaller market teams. Like, it's sort of what it is, and I think those players, they just have to go. It's an opportunity to say, okay, if Paris is going to have this business model, like, and I think if we ended up having events in Paris, like, I think it would do well. Like I do, they're a very passionate fan base there. But the business model is like for a player, it's I want to get in the league so I can guarantee more contracts, and maybe you can get to that point, right? Like the top 5 draft picks in the NBA, NFL, or whatever, you don't get to choose where you go. You go where you go. You don't want to go play for the Knicks. Like, you don't want to. Like,
No,
the Jets, whatever. The Pacers. Cleveland, where I grew up, was a big joke for a long time. You don't want to go play there. You'll ruin your career. But like, you have to. You have to. I mean, you take the money's there, and then you
takes you until
exactly. Yeah, you just go to show what you can.
You're a player for the Pirates. You get really good. You're going to the Yankees. Like that's just how it works. So I think for them, it's just they get some decent players. Maybe they help build the brand. They make a couple runs because they know if they're really good, they're going to lose them anyway. Like that's just how they view it.
But that's like that's kind of like what you want to avoid as an organization,
you're not wrong.
Right? That's kind of like my point.
But those
you just don't want to be a stepping stone.
Like
but that's true.
Yeah. That's just where they are.
But I don't know what their strategy is. Like they can, I don't know. So maybe they just weren't able to close out on their players.
Model.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, if you get the recipe for how to turn Paris Legion into Optic, you'll be a billionaire. Figure that out.
Mastermind.
but like it's not easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the right way to do it, but yeah, there's some good and bad to it. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
It's just like
good luck.
Just doesn't seem like there's going to be a longevity with whatever roster they submit for the first. I don't know.
I thought they were going to go all French, and honestly, I would have been about it.
Yeah,
I think that's the way you turn that into Optic Gaming is use the Paris fan base. That's crazy.
Like, there is some big content creators in Paris, so I thought they were going to buy into that.
Hydra's French, right?
Nah, I believe.
I think so. I'm like 99% sure on that. Like, I would have went the route of getting him and then building around him for how good everyone talks about how good he is, and then go from there. Like that Paris fan base. When I played at ESWC and AW, like after champs, I think till this day that might have been some of the most passionate fans I have ever heard. And back in AW, the crowds were not nearly what they are today. So like, I feel like you have a huge fan base over there that if you were to do that's a good idea. And that's a way to build the brand into something really, really special. 100%. So like, I don't know what the strategy is over there, but I would just hate to see them ever like be used as like that stepping stone just to like kind of join the team and be like, all right, I'm just here until I get out of here. You know,
I think
Fuck
that
it,
would've been
Gotaga, you're coming out of retirement.
Imagine.
where's Damon at?
That'd be funny. Okay, we covered rosters, some rumors of things that might happen, are most likely going to happen with some of these teams that aren't officially announced yet. What should we jump to now? We talked a pretty good amount on the game already.
You want to talk Thieves at all? Is that the last team?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess we
really
could talk
to them that much.
Okay,
And
yeah,
the
we could talk a
rumor
little bit more on
coach and all
Thieves.
that stuff too. Mhm.
True. So,
Can we talk
I'm
about
just-
rumors? Do you want to like? Do you want to like?
Why not?
Because everyone thought, all right.
It's
So
not official. That's fine.
So yeah, I'll say so. This is not official at all, but everyone has been talking about JCap signing as their coach, and then on top of their roster having like Temp as their fourth potentially. Like nothing's been announced, nothing's been official. Like no one knows anything. But like if that were to be the roster, like what do you guys think? I would love to hear from you guys because I'll talk on those players too after since I have more experience with that. But
I think I play Cap in fantasy football playoffs next week, and he's a little bitch.
it's good input there.
there you go.
You gonna smoke them?
You're welcome. Yeah, I will.
I guess I'll start. That's all you got. I guess I'll start.
I'll more.
I mean, the solid core is like, they're already moving to Dallas. In case there's online portion of next year, I think we all assume it'll at least start off that way. So that's a good step one. I feel like they really thought that last year just stung for them. Like they didn't have a fair chance. Is really what they believed. I'm never not going to believe, I think, in Kenny and Slasher based on what I've seen. And then the fourth and Temp, I just think that it's tough for Tempe. Obviously, he won last year with New York, but I think that this is a big year for him because he's had the teams to, you look at when he first turned 18 with Envy, what they were supposed to do. Splice, he was one of the best players in the world. They could just never get it done. New York last year was solid, but they weren't always the best. Like for me, this is a big year for Temp to like really mold himself as a one of the best players in the world. Like I just think he needs to mature, and he needs to realize the opportunity that he has to be on this team, to get another shot, to be on a team this caliber. He can't be like the guy arguing every single second with everyone, in my opinion. That's how I view it. So
Yeah.
But I mean, this should be a team that has the potential to win titles.
Are you surprised they didn't give Draza a shot?
Yes.
No.
I
think
actually
so.
am. I actually am too.
I like Draza a lot.
I'm not too shocked actually.
I wanted to see him play more. I did.
So I know where you're coming from with that, but I also know Slasher and Kenny, and like Draza's good, and we saw him play like briefly, so you don't really know too much about him, and I don't know too much about him just in the challenger side of things as well. But Slasher wants people that he knows, not someone that can prove to him that he can be there. He wants someone that he knows has been there before and can do it again, kind of thing. So I just feel like with that team, especially after the year they had last year, like Draza did good and they did their thing with him, but I just think that they wanted someone that like they could be fully confident in performing when it matters, and especially with how like competitive this league is. So I'm not surprised that they didn't give him a chance. Maybe if their team does have a lot of personality on it again, so like it's not a set in stone thing where they're gonna just start off the season hot out the gates and everything's gonna work perfectly, right? So you still have that chance.
Do you
So,
feel
like,
that
you
way
can
about
sit on
Temp,
them.
though? Like, listen, I think Tip
As a
very
talented
great
player,
but
yes.
is someone that you've trusted in big spots his whole career. Like,
Well,
it's not like
no.
this guy's been to finals, constantly winning tournaments.
So as a player and talent, yes. As a teammate, and I haven't really talked to Temp in a long time, so he could have changed a lot more than I have. But
I hope
as
so.
a teammate,
like the guy.
yeah, that's what I mean. He's a great person. If you ever know him, he's a really good dude. And he, like him and Slasher will go back and forth, right? So it's like if him and Slasher don't have that issue, I think they're fine. And I do trust someone like Donnie in those big moments. Like I think Donnie is one of a world-class talent when he's playing at his best. So like I do think that they think that of him. So I think they would rather, and even if I was him, Slasher in the team, like I would rather start with that, almost like kind of be safe. And if things don't work, and even if it's not Temp,
You could always
say,
get Draza.
yeah,
if
exactly.
you want to.
You have him right there. So
Yeah.
I think picking up Temp, if this is what was once again, this is rumored. is not a bad idea at all. The only thing I'd be scared of is like, yeah, if they implode internally. But overall, slasher in a Treyarch game with a game that makes sense and a good coach. If Cap is their coach, Cap is one of the smartest players to ever play Call of Duty. I mean, I don't see how this team fails. I know we said this last year kind of too, but
yeah, I did with Optic, right?
yeah.
But that goes back to what I said earlier. Like, you'll probably see teams not take a lot of risk at the beginning, and then they'll take the risk later, which
that's why I'm not really that surprised.
Right? So yeah, no,
I'm going at Tej.
Yeah,
I'm going at Tej. I hate
after last year.
I hate seeing Tej suck because I know how good he is, but like, God, dude, he just had like his bads are too bad. You in this with how this game plays, and we could talk a lot on the whole online situation, yada yada yada. Tej is too good to have the shitty games that he kind of has put up. It happened in BO4 sometimes too, where his bads were just too bad. He's
Maybe
too good
just
of
an idiot.
I mean, sometimes he is. Don't get me wrong, but like he's in a situation too where he can't have another bad year, in my opinion. Right? Like he still, I feel like he still has a reputation where he can take over a game. He's an elite player. Like I know he is, right? He has the talent, obviously, but he's in a position now, in my opinion, where he can't have another bad year like he just had. So maybe the transition is Tej going to be in Texas too? I have no idea what their team situation is going to look like.
I don't know either.
But
I'm assuming they're all going to be there. I would assume. But
you would assume they're all going to be there. So like,
why not? I don't know.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I just feel like he should be arguably the most impactful player on this team. And if he's not, who's gone first if something goes bad?
So to what you're saying, I think it would be him, if depending on behind closed doors practice, like how things are going. But to defend him on last year, I think that team was so chalked up before we even got a quarter of the way through the season that like Tej did have some bad games, and that's not an excuse at the professional level too. That's like this is like not an excuse, but like the way he is, and like even like with Dashy, like I just think that team was just they showed up to practice, they played like 2 maps and said, "All right, fuck it, we're going home." Yeah, like that probably happened like 30
then play
times
for
last year.
stats.
But that's the thing, he's not really like that. So like I would say if he were to have another bad year in the sense of playing bad, like what you're talking about, I agree. But I think Tej and like all those players too are like confident in him for not having that, because I think their team dynamic last year was just probably behind closed doors had to be horrible. I could just only imagine they play a map of Hackney Yard, they got Coalition, they got Good Side, they spawn up, they get flipped, and they get off. Like that's probably what happened. Like no one wanted to deal with anything. Like no, and when you're in that environment, I mean, you guys as players like Joe and TeeP, you guys know in that environment, you most likely get worse.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
Even like
100%.
if you're not playing the best, like there's very few people that can continuously get better in that kind of environment. Slasher is one of them, where he doesn't care what's going on, he's still going to do good, right? Like he's going to do it. He doesn't let emotions get to him. He doesn't care what this guy or that guy's doing. He's doing it for himself. But like, I feel like a player like Tej really vibes around his players, and that's not an excuse. That's also time to grow up in a little bit too. But I just think playing with that team was no fun. He probably didn't like the game that much, and when you're not having fun with your team and you don't like Modern Warfare, I don't know. So I would give him a very, very good chance this year to be completely fine. But that would be the one defense for that.
I just had to go at Tej, man.
Yeah,
you know,
you have more experience than me too. You coach
I
him,
just
so.
know how he is, bro. You just gotta talk some shit to him. He's too good
Is that
to
what it
like.
is?
Yeah, he puts up some duds, bro. He do it in scrims. He starts slacking off. He would die like 35 times on control. I'm like, dude, fucking stop, dude. He's like, what? I'm like, dude. It's like these guys suck. It's like, shut up, Tej. You know, he's one of those guys. He's gotta fucking come on, bro. I'm tired of this shit. Iceman, where's the Iceman? I haven't seen the Iceman and like. I'm tired
saw
of this shit.
like 1 or 2 rounds last year, just like a couple.
Guy would eat up our entire fucking life pool and control scrims. Piss me off. I don't know, man. I need to see more out of him.
I think a good thing for them too. Well, at least I'm excited to see is like Kenny running flex, because I think last year again sort of short. Well, even the year before that, like Black Ops 4, like 100 Thieves just had so much talent, but he was just like Kenny was so impactful at times, like, and I just think he can hit MVP levels this year, like best player in the world. Level,
Kenny's not talked about enough. Yeah, I think
I love me
man.
some Kenny.
And as a player, like his in-game IQ
Mhm.
is super high. Like he doesn't make bad decisions a lot. Like yeah, he's really good in a game like this. He's gonna thrive. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kenny have like a Kenny year again. I think he's really good.
Okay, you
Joe,
guys are gassing up the. Okay, go ahead.
I have an important question for Joe, real quick. Joe,
Oh, this is gonna be
like
dumb.
we're gassing up Kenny. Like we didn't really talk about Ultra at all, but
That was what I was say.
would you agree with me that Methods is probably one of the more overrated players in the league?
You're doing it because you saw him in the chat.
Well, I think when you talked
Zinni's
about
been in here.
I forgot Teep can't see the Discord chat. Damn it.
Well, I forget when TeeP was talking about like people statting, I figured that's immediately who he's talking about, is the man who kept his reputation up the last couple of years.
Roasted.
Probably him for sure comes to mind. I mean, he definitely got a contract just due to his incredible stats and Bell Fiber.
I forgot Teep couldn't see the chat, bro.
Dude, I said text me.
I forgot. Yeah, I put in the chat. I'm like, Joe, just roll with this.
Damn it.
So yeah, I mean, if
Get
DJ
roasted.
wants to take example over anyone, it's probably him for sure. Yeah.
Nice, dude. That was funny. Sorry for ruining that moment.
No, that was great. That was great. Oh.
Okay, so we were gassing up Thieves, and we have a light power rankings, if you want to call them that, for some of these teams so far. Where are Thieves on those rankings?
I think top 4. Then like
Mine's
like
fourth.
Yeah.
I don't know about like the
3-4,
number in the top
you
4,
guys are
but I think
talking like
easily
right
top
next
4.
to Optic.
For me, yeah.
I think
they'll
they're top 4
get
team
there.
easily.
Like people would be like, "Bro, did you watch them script yesterday versus Optic? I smoked 17-0." I'll be like, "No," but by the time preseason, I'm thinking like before we get there, like,
Joe, is that what they sound like?
yeah, like they're gonna prep a lot. Like they're gonna people. That's because that's what people are gonna say. Like, did you watch the script yesterday? Like, dude, it was just so bad. Like they're arguing and back and forth.
It's 70 kills. Stumpy at 70.
Guppy is the king, bro. Like, drop bombs on him, bro. Like, he's back. So, like, I think, like, that's where I see them getting before the season starts. That spot.
I think they're easily a top 4 team, and just depending on how their practice goes, I think they're like that'll like move up in their rankings. I think that goes for all 4 teams in the top 4 that you would say as of now. I think any of those teams, if they get good practice, they take the preseason like seriously, they go over VOD. I think it'll all determine on that. And then other teams, of course, too, that can catch up and like kind of prove people wrong too. I think it's just going to be the chemistry and teamwork kind of aspect of it. But I think they're easily top 4 right now.
I like that. Any other teams you guys want to talk about?
We haven't really talked about
Toronto
Ultra.
and Florida.
We talked about
Talk about Florida a little
Toronto
bit.
didn't really change much. Like it's their
Toronto's the
roster.
same.
Like, I wasn't
I don't know.
that worried about
Yeah.
it. Like in the sense of,
True.
I guess Mutineers is a little more interesting. You kind of talked about Slack coming back, and that's sort of the big piece. Like I think we hit the stuff that Guerrillas, I guess, we wouldn't really touch on, and that's a really big change.
True, yeah. We can talk about that.
But yeah, Ultra I just didn't really think to bring up just because it's their fucking team. But Guerrillas, if we want to touch on it quickly, like I did. Well, I guess I can talk about it because I did the talking in circles with them. If you guys might not have watched it, but maybe some of the viewers did, where I played Warzone with who was it? It was Silly, App, and Assault, and sort of talked to them about. I mean, one of the big things here is what you have: Apathy and Assault and Silly, who last time we were in 4v4, all won a world championship, right? So I just kind of asked them like how excited they are to get back to 4v4 and the difference it makes, and if they think they're gonna be better there. And I mean, they all feel really confident. Yeah, they think this changes.
Tell you no.
Them.
What are you
Oh, of
saying?
course,
No.
of course. But, like just thinking about the fact that you still have Bevels as coach. They obviously back then to win that. I mean, I don't think people realize how absurd EG winning that year was. I mean, what would that have been like? That would have been like. That'd have been like fucking.
I mean,
winning it last
people
year
think
almost.
like that was 1 in
Yeah.
100. Like, I mean, that's what people
Yeah.
think.
Insane.
Like, people think if you played that event 100 times over,
Yeah.
like it was like Doctor Strange with his time stone, dude. Like,
Oh.
like that was the one time.
But I guess I'm curious and excited just to see if 4v4 is that big of a change. That I mean, obviously all of them had really disappointing years. Apathy's had a pretty mostly positive career, right? But last year was a low point. Silly had some good moments, Assault some, Vivid some, but like am I the only one that thinks like they could? I mean, all these teams are good, I guess. 12 goddamn teams of 4 players, but they could be like a dark horse type team that we think maybe is like a bottom 4 and suddenly is more middle of the pack with a chance to make a run type thing. We'll see. I don't know. They have the pieces if they play like they have it
I
sometimes
think
in
it's
the past.
possible. I think it's possible. I'm trying to think of like what's been Silly's like peak performance. Probably like early Black Ops 4, right? That
He was
dude
playing
was
really well.
he was
IW?
nasty. IW maybe, but I just remember like standout performances consistently. It was BO4 for Silly, right? Like
Well,
Yeah.
we used to talk about how he was doing really good even with Hugh on his team. Remember?
Yeah,
like,
him and,
right.
we were talking about that.
estimate
Yeah.
really popped
like
up.
Silly was
yeah.
kind of that guy for a while on BO4. So like if you get that version, yeah, maybe why not? I don't know. I don't think I'm that sold on Vivid yet. I'll be honest.
I'm not sold on that
I'm
team
not
at all. I mean,
you know, I just don't know.
I think it's just too much talent elsewhere. I mean, when we talk about talent, like this is just to me, it is lacking. But it is.
I guess it's
I mean,
possible.
obviously,
but, I
like,
just don't see that it's too stacked on.
I think it would be dope if like that World War team, like if this is the time to say like yeah, like we told you we work really really well and yada 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 type thing, but like this is a stacked league, man.
Let's see. We didn't really talk about Dallas. Hey, Dallas won champs. They're really, 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 really good, and I think they're going to be really, 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 really good again. All right, you guys.
Yeah,
good
the
with
only
that?
thing, right, is like
All right,
with
cool.
Dallas
Well,
is they had to choose between Crim and
Yeah.
play type
That's
thing.
not a bad talking point.
And the only thing I want to say, like, I just think Illy's gonna have an insane year because Illy's running that flex now,
Mhm.
and I think people are gonna be really. I think what we saw yesterday was a really selfless Illy who just owned his role, and now he's put in a position where I think he could potentially be the MVP of this team, like stats wise, because
Yeah.
I think he's running the flex role, and I've seen him run the AR, and I can do some disgusting stuff.
I guess
Like, it's going to be different.
Interesting talking point too. Crim going to be the main AR, right? There's just like the way him and Clay plays. It's just like a difference when you talk about like how main ARs play. Well, Clay is more conservative. Crim can be sometimes, but Crim's challenge a lot more aggressively. Like it's just easy to say. So I wonder how that'll play into it. But yeah, like speaking to that point with Illy going to be on the flex, like if Illy's picking up a lot of the slack when it comes to the more, I don't know, conservative play style. I don't know. It's tough to say because this game plays really, really fast.
Well, we just haven't seen Crim as a main AR, really. We saw one moment in 1 year in Black Ops 4.
Black Ops 4, and he didn't go great. But I don't know. Those three might make his job pretty goddamn easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Like, I don't think it'll really matter. I think Crim's going to put up stats, you know?
It's just it's a mindset, dude. Like I'll randomly be going to bed and it'll be midnight and they're just streaming them playing 2v2s versus each other. Like,
yeah,
dude, it's literally a mindset thing. Whatever they got going on over there, they just love playing COD and they enjoy playing COD together and they enjoy working really, really hard.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for them. Even like with the Crim being the main AR, even if he were to struggle this year, like I don't know. I think that team has a chemistry that no team has right now. I don't know if that's true, but the way they make it look from the outside in, it just seems like they're always playing 2v2s against each other. They're always like together talking. They always have these weird spots that they figure out and all that. Like I think that goes a really, really long way. And I think that is the sole reason they won last year. I don't think they won last year because of like some crazy talent, which they had and all the leadership and better. Like that was all important, but I think them being just together all the time and just being so on the same page before any other team, I think no matter what happens with them, I think they'll be fine. I mean, they did it last year. They're going to do it again.
Yeah, you had the trio of the young guys just like they would scrim and then they would just play search and destroy tournaments all night. Like
And that goes so
it
far.
was so far. Like those extra hours, that chem that they're constantly building. Yeah, they have the formula. They believe in the formula. They have a really good coach who I think keeps them on task. It's going to be a really tough team to beat all year again.
I think Faze is going to suck because Crowder plays and streams too much Warzone and stuff. To fire him.
I have no idea. Dude, I tried getting fired last year. That's what everyone wanted, bro. I tried.
I tried to be.
It didn't work.
I tried to be chat.
Coach
for a
RJ.
second. I tried to be chat for a second. How'd I do?
I didn't even think you'd be
That wasn't
coaching.
bad.
To be honest with you, but
What happened?
I didn't even think you'd be coaching this year. To be honest.
Oh. Yeah, people thought I was coaching 100 Thieves too. A lot of things.
God, you're so just talented and good looking and great at everything.
No, I'm not.
I love me some Crowdy. Okay, let's talk.
Fair.
You guys want to talk some Challenger stuff since we saw the first Challengers Cup? Or anything else you want to touch on for the CDL teams?
The only other team we missed was New York, I guess.
New York.
But,
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We could touch on New York a little bit more if
We
you
just gotta
want.
wait for Hydra. We just gotta wait for Hydra to get here.
Yeah, I feel like
Well, they have.
We wait a couple episodes or next episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we have to wait and see how their team develops. So yeah, that's fine. We can go to Challengers. if
Does
you need
anyone
to,
know
like-
when Hydra's supposed to get there? I mean, I
Is-
imagine
well,
trying to get...
do we know he's going to be there?
Yeah, that's another one, right?
That's like you have no idea. Maybe they're signing him and not gonna play him right away too, because that's a huge risk, and you want to start safe and then switch, right? Like you have no idea what they're doing really.
These issues, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
Switch to Challengers.
let's do Challengers then. So we had the Challengers Cup this recent weekend, and I watched. Let's see. I watched I was trying to jump around to different streams. It's just hard to watch because those online tournaments, man, people just torching time. It takes forever to get the games going. People are just be bullshitting. But the NA winners were Zaptius, Paul, Gravity, and Venom. The EU winners
They
were
destroyed everybody.
yeah, they smoked everybody. The EU winners were Afro, PD, Defrag, and Gizmo. And the APAC winners were Luca, Shox, Fida, and Pred. I'm super shocked about the APAC winners. No way. No, wow, no. Wow, dude. Okay. So how much did everyone watch the NA Challengers Cup? Did you guys keep
I
up
watched
with
it
it?
Sunday night. I would do a little watch party.
Yeah, I know, Joe, you're doing watch party. I was tuning into your stream to see what was going on there. But yeah, we had obviously Challengers is absolutely stacked. Like, especially with the transition to 4v4, a lot of people that were in the CDL got kind of bumped down a notch, and now you just see all these stacked teams in Challengers. Obviously, in that tournament, we were worried about people cheating and things like that. But I don't know how much of that was happening in earlier rounds. Like, were there notable teams that got bopped down or that lost to? Like just blatant
when
cheaters.
I saw
what was that
final
process?
Sunday bracket, like it was everyone I knew.
Right.
Most of what you
I
expected.
did see some stuff the first day. I have no idea how it was handled.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Can't believe they started Challengers with I just I thought they were gonna start it like console only. I didn't think they were gonna start it on PC without anti-cheat. But that's just my opinion on it.
Just run it.
But they just ran it. I don't know how the whole process went. But based on what I watched, it's fun watching Damon. That was a huge point of interest. Play with Saints Classic and Pat. And I mean, they couldn't win a Hardpoint for shit. So that was pretty funny to watch. But they're a great Moscow search team. Trying to think what else. The Decimate, Blast, Neptune, and Parasite team blew up, like imploded. I watched Neptune Sunday. He was a Halo Pro, switched over this year. He's got talent. Like, it was just something I watched and I was like, okay. Like, it's just one of those things where you can watch the point of view and realize why. But surprised those three, obviously, with Decimate and Blast being on that team, they didn't do better. But I mean, it really in North America, like, what they were like called Baby Faze or something. I don't know if they're going to be the academy team, but they're not. Destroyed everybody.
Yeah, they're not our academy team, nor will they be. But they're calling themselves Babyface.
Worse, they fried everyone.
Did y'all? I hate to bring this up. Did you guys see the drama with Haggie's team?
Well, I saw he tweeted that he refused. Well, I saw he tweeted today, right? Like he refuses to play with Blast. So
I was listening to that
Blast
whole
over him or something.
I watched that whole team just devolve into.
I didn't see that.
It's so stupid. I was watching Blast stream. It was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It was entertaining though. But yeah, I don't know.
I watched them and saw like Parasite running a sub, and like right away, that's just like never a great idea, just based on past experiences. It just didn't get along.
I mean, that's just not going to work. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter. They're just not going to get along, and they're going to suck. I
watched the LA Guerrillas Academy team a little bit. I was watching Chino. They looked solid. I think they got like top 6, kind of in contention.
I have a question about seeding. So, like, what seeded that tournament?
Last year's Pro Points.
Last year's Pro Points carried over. So now with these
Yes.
placements, now it's like based on what they finished on this recent cup, right?
I believe so. That's typically how it was done in the past.
Got it. Okay. So people that placed in like the top 8 are going to be in a pretty good spot, you would think, for like future challengers tournaments.
You would assume so, yeah.
Got it.
Unless, you know, they have run into somebody who had a really low seed.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure I know what was going on for like the pro point side of it. Because that's going to be interesting too. Like a lot of the, I feel like challenger scene's kind of, I don't want to say ran by pro points, but like that shit's important, right? You need a good seed for online play. I don't know.
Yeah. It's your bracket. It's a good bracket.
Like getting good
playing the
placements
same
early.
people.
Yeah, exactly. You're playing the same people, which means you're most likely to do well, and you need to place well in challengers, especially this year, because like there's more talent in challengers that CDL teams are going to be looking towards to pick a player from, right? So I don't know. These early placements, gathering pro points early, super important. Okay, we got to wrap this soon. So do you guys want to just do a couple questions from chat really quickly before we close out?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Is that cool? Chat, what's up? We've been kind of keeping an eye on you guys, but I feel like we've neglected you guys a little bit. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by for the return for Hardpoints for the Cold War season. We're going to be doing these regularly, a couple episodes per month. We're back and we're doing it live. If you guys have any questions for us for the next couple of minutes, I say we all pick out, I don't know, 1 or 2 each that we can answer, or if you guys want the group to answer or answer it individually, chat, go for it. We'll pick out some of the best questions that we see.
Well, this is gonna be fun.
I like this one. Optic, who will get the snipe? Dashy or Formal? Dashy. Boom.
Dashy.
Yeah.
He's too good with it.
Hold up. Thoughts on methods?
Dude,
Already gave my thoughts, guys. Stats.
Zinni's been trolling for 2 straight hours.
Has he been? I haven't
Yeah.
been keeping up with it too much. That's
I love
funny.
after Joe made the comment, someone said Fat Zinni was better, and that made me chuckle. Thank you for that.
Very nice.
A lot of people are asking about John. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we have no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah.
I
no
know a
clue.
lot of teams were waiting to see what would happen with John. Not sure. I know there was like the rumors with him in New York, the rumors with him in LA. No clue.
I got a feeling he'll end up on team this year, but not sure when.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know how any
This
of
is
that
like a
works.
note for the next episode. I want to talk about how some of these changes for control. I read patch notes, right? And they're making some changes for some of the game types and how they're supposed
Oh,
to.
the score streaks.
I want to make sure we keep those topics going for next episode. That's just more of like I wasn't answering anything, but
Luncho said, "Who do you think?" Wait, I lost it. He said, "Who do you think will be the first former pro currently not on the team that makes their way back in the league?"
Ooh.
Who's the options? That's Parasite, Sensor, Blast.
There's a
Decimate,
million.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You mean like
Decimate.
last
Like,
year? Or
like
just in
that's what I
general?
mean. Like, who are we? who are we
Weskin, Scrap.
considering?
Well, Weskin.
Yeah, Weskin, Scraps. Like if they don't get on teams, like I don't really, because like if that's the case, like I don't know. I feel like it was definitely gonna be someone in the year last year. People saying Karma, is Karma playing? Like again, is that official? No, right? I have no. I mean, I have no idea.
feel like
I don't
He's
know.
been in the chat.
I feel like
know.
Barlow's just dabbling,
That's what I mean. Like because Damon can obviously play if he wants. That's more or less like I don't know if he's.
That's his
going
choice.
to.
It's a stress
Yeah.
thing. People, he wants to play with probably who he wants to play with. which
Exactly.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. So like so Damon would obviously be up there, but I don't know his situation as much. So
How long have I been muted?
not too
Okay,
long.
not long. Okay,
No.
all right. I was saying Damon. I think he'll end up back on a team.
You think so?
He's not like
If he-
Chris, who was like
I think
excited
Damon
to
likes
retire,
this
was done
game.
competing.
I think
No,
Damon
he
likes
just-
this game.
He just likes to compete.
Well, I
man.
mean, being
He'll-
on
he'll
Seattle
end up
Surge
playing.
last year, I mean, I don't think he wanted to play at all. You know, like
But that's
with
why I
everything
think he
going
doesn't.
on.
He will only play with people he wants to play with. And
Well, because he doesn't want to put himself
pretty-
through that again. Yeah,
Yeah, in which that's a pretty small
slim
window.
category. Yeah, okay. But yeah, no, he would definitely be able to if he wanted to.
He'll be
I mean,
back.
if he wanted to. I don't know who it would be though. Like, if
I'd
we're
probably
talking
say
about like a major.
Decimate.
Yeah, that's like Decimate, Blastful, like those guys, Wuskin, Scraps, if they
Yeah.
count it as that. Like, if we're talking about like a major comeback from like Parasite and Censor and like a player like that, or even like Aches, I'd say too. Like, because if Aches is playing again, right? I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if that was an official thing too.
When-
Like, I just don't know who's like actually playing again.
when
and not
teams
Fellow.
expand, we'll see those guys on rosters.
Well,
but
that would be
True.
easy. Yeah, I'm talking about if they were to get into this like league.
Yeah,
now. I don't know. I don't really know.
think so.
That's a tough one.
All right, let's try and get let's get one more good one in, and then
Okay.
we'll call it an
All right, give us a
episode.
good question, chat. A good one. A very good one.
I like this
There we
one.
go. Who's our sleepers? The sleepers?
I like this one from Sleepers is good. Also, I like Borg's will changes in streaks. Like, let's say, didn't they add in the setting where you change the streaks
There
can
better
carry
be.
over?
'Cause I fucking hate it without them.
I think streaks,
I love streaks.
With how they traditionally are could work well. Thoughts?
Why not?
I don't know. Well, I think they could work well. I think it depends on, are the streaks like even good or bad? Are like they too good in this game or like not good enough? Like I haven't really seen a scrim with them yet, even though they just got changed. So
They just started today.
Yeah,
The
we
good thing
didn't
is
really
you can
use them
change the
today. 'cause
value,
I just
so,
did
like-
scrims before it. So yeah, I don't really know like if they're gonna be like a huge impact or not. I would have to kind of look into that more. We just started today, and I didn't really see any streaks today, so I don't really know.
Joe, you said they can tweak the value of how fast you reports. See that?
Oh no, it's which I don't know about the how fast they can earn points, but it's the values that you can earn them. So like you can change the cruise missile from 1,000 to 1,200.
Same result.
Yeah, you can scale them. That's big.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they got to be in then. Make them considerably hard to get. Makes it. Yeah, I think I.
Yeah, if someone
I think
And
that'd be cool.
that's a big not a fix. It's a big impact for control, right? Because then your whole strategy of the map changes and you hold streaks for offense, right? So if you are absolutely, so that could snowball it to where defense is even more OP because you win your first defense, you get a streak or two, and then you know. So it's, I don't know. There's multiple ways to look at streaks, but I want them in because it makes it more fun to watch. That's my POV.
Yeah. That's what I want as a caster. It's fun to cast. It's fun to hype up somebody on a streak to earn streaks. Like last year, dude, when I'm like, oh, this guy's on a 7 kill streak. Who gave a shit? It was for nothing. Like when they're actually earning something, I don't know.
A storyline on the map.
A bit more fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for control too, that's like the biggest thing I'd say. That just makes offenses more winnable and like it's just more interesting to watch. So
yeah.
I guess next episode we'll talk on that more.
Yeah, once we get more, we can watch some scrims and see how things are being impacted. But
yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Hi, Lou.
That's it. Chat.
Yeah, Lou wants to make an appearance.
Live episode of Hardpoints. Let us know your thoughts. These will be going up on the usual platforms afterwards, so keep a lookout for the YouTubes and on socials and Spotify or wherever the hell you listen to the episodes. But we're back. We're to keep consistent with these. Thank you guys so much for tuning into a live episode. We hope you guys enjoyed the live version. We haven't done this in. Have we done
this
a live?
Weird.
Yeah, this is
no.
a
We've
lot.
Never done one.
It was different.
Interesting.
I feel like it's going to be a transition for us for sure because we're used to just recording it on our own time. But I really enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Make sure you guys follow all the boys on their Twitch streams. They stream every single morning. Don't miss them. BTB baby, we're still grinding. Follow them on socials as well. Boys, thank you for joining me for this episode. And that's going to do it for us. Chat, we love you. We'll see you in our usual streams, and we'll see you on future Hardpoints episodes, we hope, as well. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.